LoveLore Library. Chapter 307. June 15th, tomorrow was the day of Su-won and Su-rue's wedding. Right now, the entire Princess Royal residence had prepared everything. There were festive red lanterns everywhere in the residence. The night was cold, but the red lanterns illuminated the entire residence as if it was daytime. It's too late. You should go back today. At the entrance of the Princess Fu, Su-won personally sent Su-rue to the entrance. During this period of time, he often stayed here and was already the male master of the Princess Fu. However, tomorrow was the day of the wedding. No matter what, Su-rue had to return to the Fong family to prepare. Wife. General Su looked at his wife reluctantly. I can't sleep if I don't hug you. I'm not a pillow. Hearing Su-rue's words, black lines appeared on Su-won's face. She glanced at him and then slowly walked up to Su-rue's side. She lifted her foot and lightly kissed his face. I'll give you a goodnight kiss. Hurry and go back. Tomorrow, there's still a tough battle to fight. Okay. Su-rue nodded and caught a glimpse of a white figure behind the door. General Su's gaze flickered and he pulled Su-won into his arms. He lowered his eyes and fiercely kissed her lips. Wife, remember to miss me tonight. Lu-ying was speechless. That's enough. This servant can finally understand Sister Bai Luo's feelings of wanting to die. Your Highness, please bestow me a man too. I really can't afford to be single in the night. Su-won waited until the military officer's carriage completely disappeared before she slowly turned to return to the residence. But the moment she turned, she saw Yu Qing's clear and sorrowful gaze. Su-won was speechless. Why are you looking at me with such a sorrowful gaze? What are you doing? Did you forget that you're a married man? And that I'm a married woman too? Master Yu, no, I should call you Yu Jingjun. It's so late, why aren't you resting? Su-won lifted her brows and glanced at Yu Qing, asking coldly. Su-won, Yu Qing hesitated and looked at Su-won hesitantly. I just couldn't sleep, so I came out, to see you. Oh, I'm here. You've seen me too. Go back and rest. Saying this, Su-won brought Lu-ying back to her courtyard. Su-won. Yu Qing suddenly called out to Su-won. Su-won didn't turn around, but she still stopped her footsteps. I wish you happiness. Yu Qing's tone sounded sad and complicated in the middle of the night. Hee. Who was he pretending to be, a Casanova in the middle of the night? Even without your blessing, I will still be very happy. Su-won murmured and then quickly left. Yu Qing looked down as he watched her gradually disappearing figure. Su-won, do you still blame me? It had to be said that every scumbag thought of himself as a Casanova. In love, he turned around and left. He felt that he was absolutely forced to do so. After he left, he still deluded himself into thinking that you would stay there and wait for him. Blame you? Brother, who do you think you are? Tonight, Su-won returned to her dorm early. Bai Lu and Lu Chang'e were already waiting there. Your Highness, we're ready. At this moment, Lu Chang'e's expression was very solemn. On the day of his and Bai Lu's wedding, so many of his brothers from the princess's residence had died. Many innocent people from the capital had also died in vain. Now, it was finally time to settle the score. Tomorrow, he would take revenge for those who had died. He could not let the mastermind destroy the princess's wedding. Many people tossed and turned, unable to sleep tonight. Imperial City, deep in the palace. When Lu Luo saw Suman's figure, his usually cold face immediately revealed a trace of relief. Your Majesty, you're finally back. Amen. You've worked hard these days, Lu Luo. Su-man's tone was deep. She had been wandering outside and she was also injured. Her days had been tough. Thankfully, Leng Yi had been taking care of her all this time. As the saying goes, true feelings can be seen in a life and death situation. Only now did Su Man realize that Leng Yi had been in love with her. However, due to his identity as a guard, he didn't dare to express it to her. Su Man originally planned to give Leng Yi an answer after returning to the capital. But she didn't expect that, before Lu Xian brought people to find her, she and Leng Yi encountered another ambush. Leng Yi died in order to protect her this time. Leng Yi. Thinking of how the man protected her before dying, Su Man's gaze slowly turned cold and ruthless. Lu Luo, did you find anything in the capital during this period of time? Su Man turned to look at Lu Luo. She believed in Lu Luo's abilities. Plus, Lu Luo knew about the people she set up in the capital. Your Majesty. Lu Luo's expression changed slightly. Yu Qing secretly returned to the capital a few days ago. He's at the Princess Royal residence right now. What? When Su Man heard Lu Luo's words, his expression immediately turned gloomy. Is there any news from Azura? Yes. Lu Luo stared at Su Man's eyes and said seriously, Azura sent news that the Princess Royal has been mobilizing people frequently. He said that the assassination this time was personally planned by the Princess Royal. Great, Su Wan. Great, Yu Qing. Su Man laughed from anger, her gaze cold. Prime Minister Qi, Prime Minister Lu. Seal the news of my return to the capital. Prime Minister Qi. Immediately mobilize people. Tomorrow is the Princess Royal's wedding. I'm going to give her a huge congratulatory gift. Your Majesty, could it be that you... Qi Shu Yuan's expression changed hearing Su Man's words and she asked nervously. Ha! Su Man lifted her brows coldly and her tone was unprecedentedly cold. I'm going to lead the troops and flatten the Princess Royal residence. Lu Luo furrowed his brows. He felt like something was wrong. Qi Shu Yuan froze. The first thing she thought of was Feng Wuchen's safety. Flatten the Princess Royal residence? Lu Xian lowered his head hearing Su Man's bold words and a cold smile flashed past his lips. Tomorrow, it was still unknown who would emerge victorious. June 16th. As dawn broke, the Princess Royal's residence was already surrounded by the people of the capital. This was the first princess in Luanfeng country's history to get married. This was a once-in-100 years event. The citizens who liked to watch the fun naturally wouldn't miss it. Right now, the guards of the Princess Royal residence wore festive red uniforms and walked out of the residence. Over 20 guards were split into 2 rows, maintaining order at the entrance. As time slowly passed, the sounds of joyous music grew closer. It turned out that the military officer residence's team had arrived to escort the bride. The people of the military officer residence also wore bright red robes. The person in the lead riding a Fergana horse was the current military officer, Feng Wuchen. Everyone felt that it was understandable that Feng Wuchen personally came to welcome the Princess Royal. When the Feng family's group arrived, the doors of the Princess Royal residence immediately lit up with firecrackers. Amidst the crackling sounds, Su Wan wore a golden red wedding robe with Lu Ying and Bai Lu supporting her left and right. She slowly walked out of the Princess Royal residence. Right now, when one looked towards the Princess Royal residence from the end of the street, they saw a patch of bright red. Suddenly, a black cloud came from the direction of the imperial city. If one looked closely, they would see that it was a group of imperial guards. All of them were dressed in black armor, and they looked solemn and austere. On the day of the wedding, a strong enemy attacked. Su Rui stood on the horse and looked up. He could feel the wonderful taste of death in the air. Very good. Chapter 308. The bright red and festive Princess Royal residence was suddenly surrounded by the royal army in black armor. Following which, the entire group of royal army spread out to the sides. Suman, who was dressed in black armor, coldly stood on his black horse. Imperial sister, you didn't even tell me that you got married. You're making me sad. Suman's cold gaze landed on Suwan's face. She muttered slowly, her aura causing the commoners to kneel on the ground. Greetings, Your Majesty. When all the commoners were kneeling on the ground, the people of the Princess Royal residence were standing proudly. Suwan looked at the pale Suman quietly. Your Majesty, you've returned to the capital but you didn't inform me either. Saying this, Suwan casually took a step forward and glanced at the Imperial Guards. In the end, her gaze landed on Qi Shuyuan and Lu Xian. Your Majesty, you brought Prime Minister Qi and Prime Minister Lu as well as so many Imperial Guards. It doesn't look like you're here for my wedding. Ha! Suman sneered. It's all thanks to Prime Minister Qi and Prime Minister Lu's help that I barely survived this time. Now that I've found the real culprit who tried to assassinate me, I'm going to personally arrest him and bring him to justice. Oh. Suwan couldn't help but turn her head and smile faintly at Su Rui. Husband, Her Majesty is here to capture the traitors. Ah, she can't be here to capture you, right? I'm so scared. Ha. Su Rui smiled and patted Suwan's shoulder comfortingly. There are a lot of loyal officials here. As for the traitors, I really haven't seen them. Saying this, Su Rui turned to look at Suman. I wonder who the real culprit is, Your Majesty. Who is it? Military officer Feng doesn't know. Of course, it's the Princess Royal next to you. Suman's gaze suddenly landed on Suwan's face like a knife. But Suwan didn't seem to feel it. She continued to smile at Suman. Arrest the traitors and get the goods. Your Majesty, you sure are smooth with your words. I'm a traitor. I'm saying that Prime Minister Qi and Prime Minister Lu are traitors. Princess Royal. His Majesty already has the evidence of your rebellion. You don't have to try to confuse the public anymore. Qi Shuyuan, who was behind Suman, couldn't help but say this. As she said this, she shifted her gaze to Su Rui. Cousin, don't be deceived by the Princess Royal. The Feng family has been loyal for generations. As long as you're willing to forsake the darkness and seek the light, Her Majesty will definitely let bygones be bygones and forgive you. Your Majesty is wise. Su Rui couldn't help but sneer. Your Majesty, may I ask what your so-called evidence is? The people of Jingdo were all here. If there was real evidence, then take it out. Let me broaden my horizons. Your Majesty. At this moment, a white figure stumbled out of the Princess Royal's residence. Yuqing's face was pale and he looked at Suman anxiously. Your Majesty, the Princess Royal definitely won't rebel. Your Majesty, please investigate this. Yuqing, are you finally willing to come out? Seeing Yuqing's appearance, Suman's expression grew colder. That day, I was almost killed. Yuqing, how did a scholar like you who doesn't know martial arts escape? How did you appear in the Princess Royal residence? You're my husband but you colluded with Princess Royal to betray me. You deserve to die. Deserve to die. Hearing Suman's words and seeing her emotionless eyes, Yuqing was shocked. A trace of sorrow flickered through his face. Your Majesty, so this is how you've always viewed me. Am I wrong? You're caught red-handed right now. What are you trying to say? You dare to say that you don't have Princess Royal in your heart. Suman stared at Yuqing, her tone growing colder. Yuqing smiled faintly and turned to look at Suwan. Suwan, Your Majesty is right. I have you in my heart. I regret it. I regret that I didn't cherish your feelings for me. At this moment, he suddenly realized that his feelings for Su Man were a joke. He loved the wise and far-sighted Su Man, not the cold-blooded and heartless Empress. He treated her as his everything, but in her eyes, he was just an insignificant spoil of war. I'm willing to grow old. An arrow accurately pierced through Yu Qing's heart. His snow-white robe was dyed red with blood. Yu Qing's face was pale and the light in his eyes gradually disappeared. I'm willing to stay together until death. Su Man slowly put down the bow and arrow in her hands. Everyone who betrays me deserves to die. My man is no exception. Ha, hee hee. Su Wan couldn't help but laugh. Your Majesty, you're so mighty. You killed him well. You killed him well. There's a saying that good and evil will be repaid in the end. It's not that the time hasn't come yet. Back then, I wanted to kill Yu Qing as soon as he betrayed me. Your Majesty, you were the one who stopped me. Now, Your Majesty, you finally took care of this heartless person for me. I'm so happy. Saying this, Su Wan couldn't help but look at Yu Qing's corpse in disdain. Unfortunately, today is my wedding day. This person died in front of my princess royal residence. How inauspicious. Seeing that Su Wan wasn't moved by Yu Qing's death, Su Man's gaze flickered. Imperial sister, you're so cold-blooded. Yu Qing did so many things for you. Even in death, you don't dare to admit your relationship. Me and him. He's your man. Isn't our relationship that of a brother-in-law and an elder sister? Saying this, Su Wan waved her sleeves. Someone from the princess royal residence immediately walked up and pulled Yu Qing's corpse away. Your Majesty, stop beating around the bush. There's always a reason to pin a crime on someone. If you really have irrefutable evidence, take it out for everyone to see. What do you think? Yes. Right, take it out. Take it out. We want evidence. Someone in the crowd took the lead to shout, and the rest of the people immediately echoed loudly. Princess Royal was affectionate, righteous, and indifferent to fame and fortune. How could she be a traitor? In the crowd, Lu Ning carefully tugged on Lu Xiaoxiao's sleeves. Master, master, you're my master. They've already killed their way to our door, so why are you still here to join in the fun? You even dared to shout here. You're really not afraid of death. Seeing that the crowd was agitated, Suman smiled coldly as if he had expected it. You want evidence? Someone, bring Azura here. Azura used to be the captain of the imperial family's secret guards. Later on, the imperial court started allowing men to enter the imperial court. He left the secret guards and entered the imperial court as an official. He had always been a pillar in Su Wan's faction. Right now, Azura was still wearing his third-rank official robe. His expression was haggard. He was pressed down and slowly stood in front of Su Wan. Your Highness Princess Royal. Azura looked deeply at Su Wan and then knelt in front of her. Princess Royal, I'm sorry. Your Majesty, I'm sorry too. I shouldn't have lied in front of your Majesty and I shouldn't have framed the Princess Royal. But Lu Jingjun and Prime Minister Lu. They forced me to do this. What? Shura's words made everyone present stunned. Nonsense. At that moment, Lu Xian's voice rang out coldly. He was still calm as he stared at Shura coldly. Do you think you can protect your master by going back on your word? Someone. Take him down first. Hearing Lu Xian's words, the two guards were about to step forward. At this time, Su Rui, who had been silent this entire time, suddenly pulled out the sword on the guard's waist. He leaped into the air, the sword in his hand piercing towards Lu Xian's chest with murderous intent. Chapter 309. Su Rui's movements were too fast, so fast that Su Man Chi Shu Yuan couldn't react in time. Ding! In the nick of time, Lu Xian took out a dagger and blocked Su Rui's attack. The two men fought fiercely in midair while Su Wan looked at Su Man and sneered in disdain. "Your Majesty, Xiang Lu is really skilled. He's probably better than Xiang Qi, right? No wonder he could nurture so many skilled assassins." Saying this, Su Wan sneered and clapped her hands twice. Lu Chang'e and Lu Yuqing immediately pushed the crowd aside and walked in. The two of them held a black iron chain in their hands. The chains chained three men in black in rags. "Your Majesty, do you recognize them?" "This is..." Su Man looked at one of the men in black and her expression turned sinister. She remembered this person. This was the person who killed Leng Yi. Seeing that Su Man recognized them, Su Wan suddenly said loudly, "I once swore here that I would take revenge for my brothers and the people who died in vain." Lu Chang'e had been investigating the whereabouts of this group of people for me and he finally found some clues. "Your Majesty, there are still traitors. Plus, they're here." Saying this, Su Wan's gaze focused on Lu Xian. Lu Xian's lips were still stained with blood. Su Rui's sword had forced him to stop and he couldn't move. "Xiang Lu, your two assassination attempts, your scheme of framing each other was beautifully played. You and Lu Luo are really brothers." Su Wan smiled at Lu Xian but her eyes were cold. "Xiang Lu." Qi Shu Yuan also looked at Lu Xian in disbelief. Then she glanced nervously at Su Man. "Your Majesty, this, Lu Xian." "Lu Luo." Su Man gritted her teeth. Lu Xian's skills and attitude had proven Su Wan's words. At this time, Su Man had actually recovered from his initial excitement. The people who tried to assassinate Su Wan were indeed the same group of people who tried to assassinate her. Back then, she was deceived and thought that Su Wan had directed and acted this way. She didn't expect to be tricked by the Lu brothers. "Lu Xian, do you have anything else to say?" Su Man looked at Lu Xian. At this moment, her heart was bleeding. It wasn't because of Lu Xian's betrayal but because of Lu Luo. Lu Luo was the man she trusted the most. Now, even Lu Luo had betrayed her. Then, in this world, who else is worthy of her trust? Ha, ha. Lu Xian suddenly laughed out loud. "Your Majesty, I didn't lose to you, I lost to Princess Royal." Saying this, Lu Xian suddenly shifted his gaze to Su Wan. "Princess Royal, I've always felt like I've underestimated you. It seems like that's the case, but, do you really think you won?" As he spoke, a thick cloud of choking smoke suddenly appeared in front of Lu Xian. Cough cough. Everyone's vision was obscured by the thick smoke. When the smoke dissipated, Lu Xian's figure had already disappeared. At that moment, a group of assassins in black suddenly rushed out from the crowd. The killers formed a strange formation and surrounded the black armored army and the people from the Princess Royal residence. "Kill!" Following the order, the assassins all rushed over. Their footwork was strange, and they killed people like flies. "It's a formation!" Qi Shu Yuan immediately exclaimed. As it turned out, Lu Xian had set up an inescapable trap outside the Princess Royal residence. So, this is the real Lu Xian. His schemes are deep and his methods are ruthless. Seeing the Imperial Army and the assassins fighting together, Su Rui held his sword and made a gesture. The people from the Princess Royal residence immediately gathered around him and Su Wan. "Military officer, are we going to make a move?" At this time, Lu Chang'e also stood behind Su Rui, eager to try. "I don't need you guys." Su Rui smiled and took a step forward, using his sword to draw a flower in the air. "Princess Royal, today is our wedding. I, Feng Wuchen, will give you a small gift to express my sincerity." While speaking, Su Rui's figure had already rushed into the battle circle like the wind. Wherever he went, people immediately fell down without a sound. 1, 2, 3. No matter if it was the assassins in black or the Imperial Army, their attacks swept through the entire battlefield. After a while, there was no one else on the battlefield besides Su Rui. Piles of corpses were tossed to the two sides of the road by his sword. Everyone was dead, so the formation naturally disappeared too. What everyone saw was a red carpet made of blood. It extended from Su Rui's feet all the way to the entrance of the princess' royal residence. Su Rui, who was still wearing his wedding robe, suddenly knelt on one knee with his sword in hand. "Su Wan, with my name, I will protect you for the rest of your life. Are you willing to marry me?" Seeing Su Rui on the blood, Su Wan smiled and walked over to him. She gently held his hand and pulled him up. "With my blood as my oath, I, Su Wan, am willing to become husband and wife with you. I'll be with you for the rest of my life." Saying this, Su Wan stood on her tiptoes and kissed Su Rui's cold and familiar lips. "Your Highness! Your Highness!" A burst of enthusiastic cheers came from the crowd. They had personally witnessed the most legendary princess in the history of Wanfeng country, the love story that was both moving and moving. If there's someone willing to pick up a sword for you, if there's someone willing to protect you for the rest of your life. No matter who he is, no matter what his identity is, as long as you love him, please hold his hand tightly. Su Wan's wedding was vigorous and full of twists and turns. However, it also became the most talked about wedding in Wanfeng country's history. After that day, Su Man returned to the palace and immediately closed down the Lu family and banished Lu Luo to the cold palace. Lu Xian went missing and his henchmen in the imperial court ran away. After this, Su Man started to not believe in any man. She also started using all sorts of reasons to dismiss all the male officials in the imperial court. Of course, Su Rui had already resigned a long time ago. Ever since Su Wan married into Feng family, the two of them had been living their own lives happily. No matter if it was the food market on the east side or the silk shop on the west side, the people in the capital could often see the Princess Royal and her husband. The two would buy vegetables and make clothes together. They would even often go to the southern part of the city to help the homeless beggars. These were the most ordinary days. Just like the ordinary couples in Wanfeng country, they had daily necessities. But it was these days that made the noble ladies in the capital envious. They were used to having many husbands and 4 attendants. A group of men at home would fight for a woman's favor. They had long forgotten what the most ordinary life of a married couple was like. In the summer of the 2nd year, a noble lady finally learned from Su Wan and married into an ordinary man's home. Since then, there was a trend of noble ladies marrying into a lower class. At this time, Su Man was endlessly vexed because of the uprisings organized by the dismissed male officials. Lu Xian appeared and disappeared mysteriously. He organized a lot of people and distributed them all over the country, starting revolts and causing trouble. The revolts grew stronger and stronger, becoming fiercer and fiercer. In the end, they were about to attack the capital. At this time, Su Man suddenly realized that other than Qi Shuyuan, there was no one else she could use in the imperial court. In the end, Qi Shuyuan followed the emperor's orders and led the troops into battle. However, she still returned in low spirits. One night in August, the revolts had attacked the imperial city. When Su Man and Lu Xian met again, the other was still gentle and refined. However, the sharpness in his eyes was unstoppable. "Your Majesty, you lost." Lu Xian watched as Su Man slowly unsheathed his long sword. "Ha, I won't surrender to a group of men with honeyed words and a heart full of daggers." Saying this, Su Man waved her long sword and stabbed Lu Xian's acupuncture point. The two fought for life and death in the hall. After over 100 rounds, Su Man slowly fell into a disadvantage. Everything is over. When Lu Xian found an opportunity and wanted to stab Su Man's chest, a familiar figure suddenly charged over and took the fatal blow for Su Man. Lu Xian was stunned for a moment. Su Man was even more shocked as he looked at the smiling man who had collapsed on top of him. Luo. Su Man subconsciously murmured his name. When she lifted her hand, she saw that her palm was covered in blood. Luo, Yuk. Su Man frantically wanted to cover Luo's wound, but he shook his head with a pale face. It's no use. I'm already at the end of my rope. Your Majesty, this is the last thing Luo can do for you. Although I've never liked Yu Qing, I really like what he said. I'm willing to marry the one I love and never leave. If there's a next life, would your Majesty be willing to be Luo's wife and grow old together? I'm willing. Don't die. Su Man screamed in panic. However, when the man beside her heard her words, he smiled and closed his eyes forever. Even though he was suspected, ignored, and banished to the cold palace, living a life worse than death, he had persevered because there was love in his heart. He died. He died for you. Lu Xian's expression was a bit hazy. Su Man, you always say that men are unreliable, but are you women reliable? I sent Yu Qing to the princess' royal residence. He didn't betray you and neither did Luo. You'd rather believe someone else than them. Aren't they your lovers? The world belongs to men. Saying this, Lu Xian's sword pierced Su Man's heart again. Su Man thought of Leng Yi, Yu Qing, and Luo who just died. Her vision blurred, and in that blurred state, she saw a smear of red leisurely appear at the entrance of the hall. Whether the world belongs to men or women isn't up to you to decide, Prime Minister Lu. Su Wan wore a bright red phoenix robe and appeared behind Lu Xian calmly. Su Rui, Lu Chang'e, Bai Lu, and Azura were standing next to Su Wan in martial attire. Chapter 310. Su Man's death allowed Su Wan to successfully complete the mission. She and Su Rui brought people to stop Lu Xian's betrayal, but they didn't kill him. Lu Xian, if you want to live, you should see it with your own eyes. This country's future will definitely get better and better. Su Wan and Su Rui weren't interested in the throne. After completing the mission, they left the mission space. Every world had its own path. Luanfeng country would definitely change slowly in the end. Returning to the lost time space, Yi Axian smiled and waited by Su Wan's side. Su Wan had a bad feeling being stared at by Yi Axian. The trial is at the end of the month. Yi Axian lifted her hand and a list of people participating in the trial appeared on her communicator. Each department had 3 people. Here. Yi Axian pointed at the rehabilitation department in the first row. That Su Rui is the person from last time, right? Yi Axian was naturally talking about the rescue mission Su Wan did last time. Su Wan nodded. What's wrong? Is there a problem? What is your relationship? Yi Axian's gaze landed on Su Wan's face. Su Wan, you should know that this trial is really important. No department dares to make any mistakes. I know what you mean. Su Wan naturally understood Yi Axian's words. She and Su didn't want to bring any unknown danger to their department. Su will seal his memory. Yi Axian, you can seal my memory too. I won't ignore my work for my personal reasons. Su Wan said faintly. Yi Axian nodded. I'll think of a way to deal with this. There's still a meal at the end of the month. You can continue with your mission. Okay. Su Wan's gaze flickered seeing Yi Axan leave. According to the time ratio between the lost time space and the mission plane, she should be able to do 4 or 5 small missions before the trial. Turning on the communicator, Su Wan eliminated the missions that took too long. When she accidentally glanced at a mission title, she froze. There's actually such a strange mission. Accept. Mission World. Su Wan connected to the mission world. When she opened her eyes, she found herself sitting on a bench in the corridor of the hospital. The original owner seemed to have fallen asleep here. Miss Su, have you been waiting anxiously? At this time, a young nurse walked over with a smile and handed Su Wan a bottle of mineral water. Why don't you wait in the doctor's office? Dr. Gu's surgery will probably take another 2 hours. Gu Shuxing, the male lead of this world, was also the most famous surgeon in this private hospital. It's okay, I'll wait for him here. Su Wan smiled at the little nurse and then she leaned on the bench again and closed her eyes to rest her mind. As a surgeon, Gu Shuxing was a very strict person. He lived a regular life and had a slight obsession with cleanliness. He was also very rigid and stubborn. He was such a boring and old-fashioned man, but he had the face of a celibate Prince Charming. Especially when he wore the doctor's white coat, he could kill thousands of girls in seconds. The original owner, Su Wan, used to be Gu Shuxing's patient. When the two met, Su Wan was in a cold war with her boyfriend, Xiao Qing. During that period of time, Su Wan wasn't in a good mood. Thankfully, she could see her Prince Charming every day while staying in the hospital. Though her Prince Charming was very aloof and never chatted with her, he was pleasing to the eyes. Every time she looked at him, she would feel better. Therefore, while she was in the hospital, Su Wan spent her days looking at her Prince Charming. After looking at him for a while, she couldn't help but compare her loser boyfriend to her Prince Charming. Comparing appearance. Okay, there was no comparison at all. Comparing income. Her Prince Charming definitely had a monthly salary of over 10,000 while her loser boyfriend had to spend 3,000 a month and 1,800 to rent a house. Comparing knowledge. Her Prince Charming graduated from a famous overseas medical university while her loser went to a third-rate university. Both were on par with Lanxiang and New Oriental. Nanny. Comparing goods to goods, you have to throw them away. What made the original owner upset was that Xiao Qing didn't take the initiative to visit her even once while she was in the hospital. This made Su Wan feel even more disappointed towards her boyfriend. After she was discharged, she immediately broke up with Xiao Qing. After they broke up, Xiao Qing also came to pester her for a few days. There was even one time when Su Wan went to the hospital for a checkup. Xiao Qing even followed her and wouldn't let her leave. At that time, Gu Shuxing had just gotten off work and happened to see him. Maybe because he didn't want his patient to be pestered, Gu Shuxing interfered for the first time. Do you see him? This is my new boyfriend, Gu Shuxing. Xiao Qing, look in the mirror. Which part of you can compare to him? So, you should just give up. Su Wan took this chance to grab Gu Shuxing's arm and attack Xiao Huixin. 10 times the damage. The loser Xiao Qing met the aloof Prince Charming Gu Shuxing. Damn, he could only retreat in defeat. Feeling that there was no hope of getting back together, Xiao Qing took all of his salary and went to a nightclub to get drunk. In the end, because he was too drunk, he ran a red light on his way home and got hit by a speeding sports car. When Xiao Qing woke up again, he realized that he wasn't feeling well. He was dead. No. To be precise, his body was determined to be dead but his soul possessed the female driver who caused the accident. This female driver was a rich woman called Xiao Qing. Her other identity was Gu Shuxing's betrothed fiancé before she was even born. That's right. Xiao was this world's female lead. Su Wan was speechless. Su Wan was really speechless at this strange plot. But this world was interesting, wasn't it? Su Wan judged the current plot based on the original body's memory. Xiaoqing had been reborn as Xiaoqing and met Gu Shuxing in the hospital ward. Xiaoqing naturally recognized the deadpan looking at him as the pretty boy who stole his girlfriend. Unfortunately, he had become the fiancé of his love rival. Xiaoqing was the fiancé of his love rival. Plus, she was the fiancé that he despised. Nanny. You despise me. Do you think I despise you? You're just a pretty boy, why are you so cocky? I'm a fair, rich, and beautiful woman now. Pfft. I'm tall, rich, and handsome. Just you wait. Once I'm discharged, I'll get a sex change and then I'll steal all the beauties around you. With this beautiful wish in mind, Xiaoqing calmly stayed in the hospital's VIP ward with Xiaoqing's identity. 3 in the afternoon. Gu Shuxing walked out of the operation room, exhausted. When he returned to the doctor's office on the 3rd floor, he saw Su Wan sleeping on the long bench in the hallway from afar. Su Wan. Gu Shuxing couldn't help but walk over and gently push Su Wan's shoulder. Ha! Su Wan woke up in a daze. Seeing Gu Shuxing's cold and restrained face, she couldn't help but smile faintly at him. Dr. Gu, you're back. Emin. You came to find me. Gu Shuxing looked at Su Wan and asked calmly. Yeah. Su Wan slowly stood up. Dr. Gu, you helped me a lot last time. I want to treat you to a meal to thank you. Last time. Gu Shuxing wrinkled his brows. It was very clear that he had completely forgotten about the incident where he accidentally pretended to be Su Wan's boyfriend last time. Miss Su, Dr. Gu. Dr. Gu. At this time, a young nurse suddenly ran over in a panic, calling out to Gu Shuxing as she ran. Xiao Xia, what's wrong? Gu Shuxing recognized this nurse. She was the nurse in Xiaoqing's ward. Chapter 311. If one day, you woke up from a car accident and found out that you've changed from a man to a woman, what would you do? The answer was to touch your chest first. You should have checked to see if your lower body was still there. Xiaoqing felt like he was a coffee table filled with cups and utensils. He lost his job, broke up, got into a car accident. Nanny, he actually turned into a woman after waking up from a car accident. Fine. Although he was a beautiful woman with an angel's face and a devilish body, what use was that? Xiaoqing originally wanted to use Xiao family's money to go abroad and do a sex change operation, but after he looked up some information online, he felt terrible. You can't do a surgery just because you want to. What if it fails and he really becomes a transvestite? In short, Xiaoqing was in a bad mood right now. He chased the nurses out of the room and smashed everything he could. Xiaoqing sat on the bed, panting with rage. Why was he so unlucky? He was sent by his leader to visit the poor mountains. His phone and computer had no signal and he didn't even know his girlfriend was hospitalized. He finally came back from the mountains. Nanny, his girlfriend had been taken away by a pretty boy. The most infuriating thing was that his original job was taken by the manager's brother-in-law. This was the tragedy of his life. Xiaoqing was sitting on the bed, feeling sorry for himself when someone suddenly pushed open the door. Xiaoqing thought Xiao Xia came back again. He couldn't help but sigh. Xiao Xia, didn't I tell you to leave first? I'm really fine. I'm just venting. Xiaoqing turned to see the icy face outside the door. He immediately paused and his expression turned ugly. What are you doing here? Damn pretty boy. You have a fiancé yet you're seducing my Su Wan. I'll expose your true colors in front of Su Wan after I get out of the hospital. While Xiao Qing was thinking, someone suddenly appeared behind Gu Shuxing. She had a head of flowing black hair, a petite figure, and wore a pink baseball jacket. She looked especially sweet and cute. Su Wan. Speak of the devil. Xiao Qing froze. Su Wan also saw Xiao Qing on the bed. Her gaze flickered and she immediately rushed over. It's you. I finally found you. Xiao Qing was speechless. Could it be that she still recognizes me after I've become like this? Xiao Qing was thinking when he felt pain on his cheek. Su Wan had slapped his left cheek harshly. What are you doing? Xiao Qing widened his eyes and looked at Su Wan angrily. You ran away with the pretty boy and now you're saying that you're in the right. How dare you hit me? I never hit women in the past, cough cough. But now, I'm a woman too. Damn it, if you piss me off, my ex-girlfriend won't be polite either. Just as Xiao Qing was planning on retaliating, Su Wan suddenly grabbed Xiao Qing's shoulders with reddened eyes. You murderer! Give Xiao Qing back to me. Give him back to me. You are a murderer. Murderer! Xiao Qing was speechless. Ah! Xiao Qing finally thought of a serious problem after being shaken by Su Wan. He had become Xiao Qing, the female driver who caused the accident. So, he was his enemy now. Damn it, the heavens can't play with people like this. Xiao Qing couldn't help but feel touched seeing Su Wan's emotional expression. He was a failure in his past life, but at least he wasn't a complete failure. At least he had Su Wan, his girlfriend, although she was his ex, and Yan Mubai, his good brother whom he could entrust his life to. So when he died, there would be people who would be sad and cry for him. Xiao Qing froze, allowing Su Wan to keep shaking his shoulders. Miss Su. At this time, Gu Shuxing finally couldn't help but take a step forward and grab Su Wan's arm. Miss Su, don't be too emotional. Xiao Qing is also a victim. She wasn't responsible for the car accident. Hey! What are you doing? Let go. Xiao Qing interrupted Gu Shuxing's words. Seeing Gu Shuxing grabbing Su Wan's arm, he immediately jumped up in excitement. He lifted his hand and pushed Gu Shuxing's hand away. Then he took a step forward and stood in front of Su Wan. Gu Shuxing, that's enough. Don't take advantage of me, you pervert. Gu Shuxing was speechless. Xiao Qing was becoming more and more unreasonable. Su Wan, are you okay? Saying this, Xiao Qing turned around, wanting to grab Su Wan's hand. Naturally, Su Wan quickly dodged. Miss Xiao, I was too emotional earlier. Sorry, I'll be leaving first. Dr. Gu, I still have to thank you for helping me that day. Actually, I really regret it. If I wasn't so angry that I lied to A Qing, he might not have gotten into this. You're right. This isn't Miss Xiao's fault. It's me. It's all my fault. Su Wan glanced at Gu Shuxing and said, Dr. Gu, I still have to thank you for helping me that day. Saying this, Su Wan quickly ran out with a pitiful expression. Hey! Su Wan! Xiao Qing anxiously wanted to chase after her, but Gu Shuxing stopped him after a few steps. You're a patient right now. Where are you going? Gu Shuxing, are you dumb? Can't you see that Su Wan's emotions aren't right? What if something happens to her? Gu Shuxing looked down. That's her problem. She still has her family and friends. Outsiders like us don't need to worry about her. Xiao Qing, you're a patient right now. Please return to the bed. Sick my ass. Xiaoqing pushed Gu Shuxing while he wasn't paying attention. Then he quickly ran out the door. After leaving, Xiaoqing realized a serious problem. He was still wearing the hospital gown and he didn't have a single cent on him. Ah! How was he supposed to go to Su Wan's home right now? Walk? Run? How about taking a taxi or taking a public bus? If he did that, wouldn't he be arrested for being crazy? Beep! At this time, a car horn rang behind Xiaoqing. Gu Shuxing peeked his head out from the driver's seat. Do you know Su Wan's address? Get in the car. I'll take you there. Hi, Xiaoqing struggled for a few seconds before getting in the car unwillingly. The moment he got in, he stared at Gu Shuxing sharply. How do you know where her home is? You've been there before. Feeling the jealousy in his voice, Gu Shuxing couldn't help but shake his head coldly. She used to be my patient. Of course I know where she lives. Ah. Hearing Gu Shuxing's words, Xiaoqing lowered his head and didn't say anything. Fine, fine. You're right. While the two were driving to Su Wan's home, Su Wan had already taken a taxi to Jolene Street. This street was the biggest wholesale market in the area. Crooks and honest people mixed together and there were groups of vendors. Su Wan couldn't help but smile seeing the noisy and messy street after getting out of the taxi. How could General Su stay in a place like this? That's right. There was only one person in this world who could be called a passionate supporting male. Xiaoqing's best friend, Yan Mubai. Chapter 312. 2 yuan, 2 yuan. All 2 yuan. You won't lose out if you buy it for 2 yuan. You won't be fooled even if you buy it for 2 yuan. Don't miss it if you walk by. Look here, look here. I'll buy 2 pieces of children's clothing for 20 yuan. Clear out. Sell it off. I'm done. I'm done. The boss is crazy. As soon as Su Wan walked into Jolene Street, her ears were filled with all sorts of sounds of horns and hawkers. They rose and fell, making her ears buzz involuntarily. It was really noisy. Su Wan couldn't help but quicken her steps, walking towards Yan Mubai's small shop in her memory. Before Su Wan could get there, she was blocked by a woman wearing a floral dress. Hey, why are you here again? Our brother Bai doesn't hit women. But if you provoke him again, be careful of my sister scratching you. Su Wan was speechless. Who the hell was Brother Bai? Who are you? Su Wan coldly glanced at the floral dress in front of her. This person looked quite young and her looks were passable. But what was she trying to do with her floral dress? Why do you care who I am? You gold digger, get out of here. Seeing Su Wan's cold gaze, Flower Dress subconsciously puffed out her chest and raised her voice. Her loud voice immediately attracted the hawkers from other stalls. Everyone revealed a playful expression when they saw Su Wan. Su Wan was speechless too. In the original plot, Yan Mubai and Xiaoqing were best buddies. Before Xiaoqing's accident, he had called Yan Mubai. Yan Mubai knew that Su Wan dumped Xiaoqing and Xiaoqing ran a red light and got into an accident because he was heartbroken and drunk. Because of this, Yan Mubai naturally wouldn't be nice to Su Wan. 3 days ago, the two had attended Xiaoqing's funeral. Su Wan remembered that she still had things with Xiaoqing. Xiaoqing was an orphan, so Yan Mubai had taken away his belongings. In the end, Su Wan had no choice but to go to Jolene Street to look for him. In the end, the two started arguing in front of his shop. Because Yan Mubai was quite popular in Jolene Street, many people came to mediate, thinking that it was a couple fighting. In the end, Su Wan took her things and the two parted on bad terms. The neighbors nearby came over to gossip and asked Yen Mubai if the girl was his girlfriend. In the end, Yen Mubai scolded her as a gold digger in a fit of anger. Then the neighbors on Jolene Street automatically imagined a melodramatic drama of a gold digger throwing away a loser peddler. Of course, that was not all. Although Yen Mubai was poor, he was handsome. He stood in front of his stall like a celebrity. All the young girls on the street were willing to get close to him. The girl wearing a flowery dress who blocked Su Wan's way was called Lu Ying. She was one of Brother Bai's admirers. Right now, because of Lu Ying's loud voice, many people had surrounded them, pointing and discussing. They all looked like they were watching a good show. Su Wan narrowed her eyes and a smile flashed past her face. Because the original owner of this world had a petite figure, Su Wan couldn't see Yen Mubai's shop in the crowd. Therefore, she smiled and shouted, "Yen Mubai! Yen Mubai! Come out!" Seeing Su Wan yelling at the top of her lungs, the people at the side froze and subconsciously made way for Yen Mubai's stall. At this time, a certain street weed who had just crawled out of the pile of goods finally appeared in front of everyone. Although he wore plain casual clothes and his short hair was messy, it couldn't hide his handsomeness and elegance. "Wife, you're here." Su Rui smiled awkwardly at Su Wan. "You came at the right time. Hurry and help me clean up." General Su wouldn't admit that he was in the warehouse the moment he entered the mission. Plus, he was pressed down by the mountain of counterfeit goods. Seeing Su Rui holding Su Wan's hand and walking towards his room, the onlookers also dispersed in an uproar. Lu Ying stood on the spot watching the two's back view and stomped her feet fiercely. All the good men belonged to someone else. She couldn't live like this. Su Wan followed Su Rui to his small street shop that was more than 10 square meters. As soon as she entered, she saw bags all over the ground. Su Wan was speechless. "You were robbed here." Su Rui was speechless. Ahem. Su Rui looked at Su Wan with an embarrassed expression. You also know that Yen Mubai just used all his belongings to buy a batch of goods. Do you think this Yen Mubai is stupid? He didn't even leave money for renting a house. It's tens of thousands. All of his assets were used up by him to buy these counterfeit goods. Forgive General Su for being a doctor and a young master before. He could go to the battlefield and cook in the kitchen, but he had never been a peddler before. He didn't know how to sell goods. General Su felt a headache coming on as he looked at the room full of counterfeit goods. Okay. It's no big deal. I know how to sell them. Su Wan couldn't help but smile seeing Su Rui's distressed expression. Let's clean up first. Hang the new and popular ones in a conspicuous position. That way, we can attract customers' attention. Put the old ones in the shopping cart in the front for clearance sale. General Su was speechless. Although he didn't know what his wife was talking about, he felt like she was amazing. My wife will always be the best. The two got to work right away. Su Wan commanded and Su Rui helped her. By the time the two were almost done packing the bags in the shop, the sky was completely dark. The other shops on Jolene Street had closed long ago. Phew, I'm so tired. General Su had never done such trivial things before. He felt like cleaning up the shop was more tiring than going to the battlefield. This is the life of a normal person. Su Wan smiled at Su Rui. She had done all kinds of jobs when she did missions in the past. Being a peddler was so easy. I'm a bit hungry. Let's go eat something. Su Rui closed the shop and walked to the end of the street with Su Wan in his arms. Don't eat outside. Let's go to my house and I'll cook for you. Su Wan looked at Su Rui. Yen Mubai, did you forget that you're penniless right now? I heard that you can't even pay the rent and can only spend the night in your shop. Su Rui was speechless. Su Rui couldn't understand Yen Mubai's thoughts at all. He had made a lot of money selling counterfeit goods on Jolene Street, but he sent the money back to his hometown so that his parents could use it for his brother's wedding. Yet, he ended up homeless in the city. In the original plot, Yen Mubai's life was also down and out until Xiao Qing came to visit him. Yen Mubai naturally didn't know that the fairy-like Miss Xiao in front of him was his good brother. He only knew that Miss Xiao was beautiful and kind. Even though he was cold to her because of Xiao Qing's death, she still helped him enthusiastically and never asked for anything in return. Just like that, the innocent brother Bai fell in love with this fair, rich, and beautiful woman who didn't care about trifles. From then on, he ran on the path of a supporting male character, unable to stop. Su Rui was speechless. General Su wanted to calm down. He really couldn't accept the plot this time. It wasn't like General Su hadn't heard of men turning into women and women turning into men. But you're a straight man. You're straighter than an electric pole. You like men just because you say you like men. Even if you become a woman, you should go the lesbian route, right? Ah. Chapter 313. Su Wan lived far away from Jolene Street. Because it was already dark, there weren't many people on the streets. Su Wan brought Su Rui and the two took the bus home. They had to walk one street back to the community after getting off the bus stop. Wife, it's been hard on you. I'll carry you. Su Rui thought of how Su Wan had helped him for a few hours and immediately started feeling sorry for his wife. People say that poor couples are always sad. General Su felt that the life of a normal person was both novel and hard on him. When Su Rui carried Su Wan to the bottom of the building, he saw a white Chevrolet parked in front of the building. A woman wearing a suit jacket leaned against the car and smoked. It was Xiao Qing. Once he saw this strange female lead, General Su couldn't help but stop his footsteps. What's wrong? Su Wan, who was lying on his back drowsily, also opened her eyes. Before she could wake up, Xiao Qing had already run over. Mubai, what's wrong with Xiao Wan? Did she get hurt? At this time, Xiao Qing had long forgotten that she was Miss Xiao. She ran to Su Rui and asked anxiously. Su Rui furrowed his brows. Stay away. You don't need to worry about me and Su Wan. Xiao Qing was speechless. Okay. Only now did Xiao Qing remember his current identity. I'm more or less responsible for Xiao Qing's death. I admit it. But I definitely didn't do it on purpose. I know he's an orphan and you two are the closest people to him. If you guys have any difficulties, tell me. I'll help if I can. Saying this, Xiao Qing couldn't help but glance at Su Wan on Su Rui's back. Miss Su, don't blame yourself too much. Life and death are determined by fate. You can't blame yourself for Xiao Qing's accident. Don't do anything stupid. Xiao Qing didn't know what to say right now. He really wanted to tell the two that he was Xiao Qing and that he was still alive. But what was the point of telling them? Would Su Wan be willing to be with a woman? Damn it, my life is really too bitter. Hearing Xiao Qing's words, Su Wan jumped off Su Rui's back and glanced at him. Thank you, Miss Xiao, for coming over to tell us this. You're right. Life and death are fated. Maybe I'm not fated with A Qing in this life. I hope he can reincarnate into a wealthy family in his next life and live a carefree life with beauties by his side. Xiao Qing was speechless. Little Wan Wan, you're so kind and cute. I don't have to worry about food and clothing now. What beautiful women. I'm a beautiful woman myself. Does that count as having a beautiful woman in my arms? Sob sob sob, I don't want to say any more, let me cry for a while more, Xiao Qing. Seeing that Su Wan wasn't surprised, Gu Shuxing slowly got off the car and glanced at Xiaoqing. It's almost 7. You should go back to the hospital. Back to the hospital. Xiaoqing immediately furrowed his brows. His gaze landed on Su Rui. Yan Mubai, did you guys come back from Jolene Street? Why is it so late? You haven't eaten yet, right? How about I treat you to dinner at Yi Jiangnan? Order whatever you want to eat. Xiaoqing remembered that when he was still with Su Wan, he promised her that he would take her to Yi Jiangnan for dinner. That place was really close to Su Wan's company. It was a really big and classy private restaurant. Su Rui hesitated before nodding in the end. Since Miss Xiao is so generous, then we won't hold back. Xiao Wan, what do you think? Okay. Su Wan nodded indifferently. Then I'll have to trouble Miss Xiao. Ah, no need. Don't keep calling me Miss Xiao. Just call me Xiaoqing. Every time he heard people call him Miss Xiao, Xiaoqing would feel a faint sense of melancholy. Let's go. Get in the car. Xiaoqing didn't hold back. After dragging Su Rui and Su Wan into the car, he immediately turned and shouted at Gu Shuxing, Master, let's go to Yi Jiangnan. Gu Shuxing was speechless. So I'm a taxi driver. Gu Shuxing's expression was cold as he started the car without saying a word. He wasn't a talkative person. Although he had been dissatisfied with Xiaoqing for a long time, he remembered that the two families were friends and that Xiaoqing was a patient of his hospital. He could only endure it for now. When the four arrived at Yi Jiangnan, there weren't many customers inside. Xiaoqing asked for an elegant private room. After entering, he immediately asked for a bottle of 30-year-old Maotai and a bottle of Lafite like a nouveau riche. He went from a loser to a rich and beautiful woman overnight. Even if he couldn't pick up girls anymore, he could at least experience the life of a rich person. Rich, willful. Come here. Order whatever you want to eat. If you like it, give us 2 portions. Eat one and take the other away. Xiaoqing generously pushed the menu in front of Su Wan and Su Rui. Su Wan, Su Rui, and Gu Shuxing were speechless. The 3 of them didn't know this idiot. They really didn't. I'll just eat whatever I want. Su Wan flipped through the menu, her expression a bit complicated. When Qing was still here, he always said that he was going to bring me here to eat. Now that I think about it, there's no difference between this place and the restaurant across the street. It's fine as long as I can fill my stomach. Xiao Wan, hearing her words, Xiaoqing immediately looked at her affectionately. Ahem. Sensing Xiaoqing's strange gaze, Su Rui immediately coughed. Xiao Wan, Qing is no longer here. I know that you can't get over it, but the living have to look forward. That's right. Gu Shuxing, who had been silent, also looked at Su Wan solemnly. The dead are gone. Miss Su, you're still young. You still have a long life ahead of you. Okay. Su Wan nodded after hearing the 2 people's words. Xiaoqing also looked down, deep in thought. Right. He was already dead. No matter what, he couldn't let Su Wan continue to be sad for a dead person. He subconsciously glanced at Gu Shuxing, who had just spoken. This pretty boy was just trying to persuade Su Wan. Was he really interested in Su Wan? He already had a fiancée, but he was still fooling around. Men like him weren't reliable. Too unreliable. Thinking of this, Xiaoqing's gaze landed on Su Rui. Other than himself, Yan Mubai was definitely the man that Xiaoqing felt the most at ease with in this world. Knowing one's roots and being affectionate and loyal. Yan Mubai was a good man. Capable, warm-hearted, loyal, and filial. Amen. Other than his current financial difficulties, everything else was pretty good. Xiao Qing's gaze couldn't help but wander between Su Rui and Su Wan. Speaking of which, when the two of them sat together, upon closer inspection, they really did look like a married couple. Xiao Qing was speechless. Nanny. Why did he still feel uncomfortable? Matchmaking his ex-girlfriend with his good friend. This wasn't something a human would do. They spent tens of thousands on this meal. In the end, Gu Shuxing still had to pay the bill with his card. When they came out of the restaurant, Xiao Qing glanced at Su Rui and Su Wan. This place is close to Jolene Street. Mubai, I'll send you back first and then send Xiao Wan back. No need. Su Wan immediately shook her head. Send them to my house. Mubai's lease on the apartment above him has expired and he's been chased out by the landlord. He can't just stay in the shop all the time. I happen to have an empty room at my place. I'll let him stay there for a while. We'll talk about it after he earns enough money to rent a house. Xiao Qing was speechless. Chapter 314. Gu Shuxing drove Su Wan and Su Rui to the apartment building. He watched as the two walked in side by side. Xiao Qing sat in the front passenger seat and stared at their backs with a complicated gaze. He gritted his teeth and clutched his patient gown. Xiao Qing. Sensing that something was wrong with Xiao Qing's expression, Gu Shuxing looked at him strangely and asked in a low voice, "Are you okay?" "I'm fine." Hearing Gu Shuxing's words, Xiao Qing immediately roared at him. Gu Shuxing was speechless. Rude. Gu Shuxing looked down and started the car without saying a word. Su Wan and Su Rui had gone upstairs. They watched Gu Shuxing drive away from the window. Su Wan couldn't help but smile. "Dear, what do you think Gu Shuxing is feeling right now? Does he think that Xiao Qing is special?" In the original plot, the original body Su Wan did have a good impression of Gu Shuxing after breaking up with Xiao Qing. However, Gu Shuxing was naturally dull and cold. He didn't react to Su Wan's advances at all. After learning that Xiao Qing got into a car accident and died, Su Wan felt a bit guilty. She might as well give up on pursuing her Adonis. Then she quietly left the city by herself. Needless to say, she was just a cannon fodder in Xiao Qing and Gu Shuxing's story. Because of Su Wan's existence, Xiao Qing had been reborn into Xiao Qing and misunderstood that Gu Shuxing stole his girlfriend. Because of this, Xiao Qing naturally went against Gu Shuxing. After Su Wan, the cannon fodder, left, the main female supporting character in Gu Shuxing's life finally arrived. Yao Shanshan, Gu Shuxing's first love. Yao Shanshan was definitely a goddess in terms of appearance, family background, and even her personality and intelligence. She came back from abroad and planned on getting back together with Gu Shuxing. Seeing such a perfect goddess throwing herself into a scumbag's arms, Xiao Qing was unhappy. He started to make things difficult for Gu Shuxing as his fiancée, and also tried his best to slander Gu Shuxing in front of Yao Shanshan. The more he did this, the more Yao Shanshan thought that she cared about Gu Shuxing. Therefore, the relationship between the two women became more and more tense. Xiao Qing still hadn't realized that he was Yao Shanshan's love rival. He even swaggered around with Yan Mubai in front of Yao Shanshan. As a real woman and a highly intelligent one at that, Yao Shanshan could tell that Yan Mubai was interested in Xiao Qing with one glance. So she got the two drunk and threw them on the bed. Then, she lured Gu Shuxing over so he could catch them in the act. Unfortunately, Yao Shanshan underestimated Xiao Qing's fighting strength. What was the big deal about sharing a bed with Yan Mubai? He had even taken a bath with him. Xiao Qing was incomparably calm in the face of Yao Shanshan's framing. It was his calmness and open-mindedness that made Gu Shuxing look at his crude, crazy, but special fiancé in a different light. He was really curious. How could a woman be so careless? Alright, forgive the male lead for not knowing that his Miss Xiao, the goddess, had the soul of a rough man residing in her body. It was said that once a man became curious about a woman, it was the beginning of a relationship. Gu Shuxing gradually noticed that Xiao Qing wasn't as bad as he thought. He saw that she cared about Yan Mubai and the merchants on Jiulin Street without asking for anything in return. She even visited the orphanage at a fixed time every week to comfort the homeless orphans. She did all of this silently and never told anyone about it. Her heart was beautiful. The male lead finally noticed the female lead's shining point. Therefore, he started to change his attitude towards Xiao Qing. When Xiao family was in trouble, only Gu Shuxing helped them out, neglecting to eat and sleep, no matter if it was because they fell in love with each other, or because their personalities complemented each other, it was all good. In the end, the two finally got married. Xiao Qing also decided to bid farewell to his past and treat this life as a new one. He would continue living with Xiao Qing's identity. Thinking of Xiao Qing's nervousness and panic after Gu Shuxing confessed to him, Su Wan couldn't help but ask again, "Hubby, if Gu Shuxing finds out that Xiao Qing is actually a man, do you think he'll still like her?" Su Rui was speechless. This was a great question. General Su was speechless. He didn't know how to answer at all. Seeing Su Rui's silence, Su Wan knew that General Su was shocked by this world's plot. So General Su also had a minefield. Thinking of this, Su Wan suddenly became interested. She smiled and turned to look at Su Rui behind her. Smiling, she said, "How about, for this mission, we swap roles?" Su Rui immediately had a bad premonition hearing Su Wan's words. "Wife, what do you want to play this time?" "This time, you'll be in charge of breaking them up. I'll be the matchmaker. What do you think?" Su Wan blinked, waiting for Su Rui's answer in anticipation. Ah! General Su's face was filled with astonishment. Was his wife a fujoshi in nature? Though he was stunned for a while, Su Rui couldn't help but smile in the end. "Since you want to play, I'll play with you. But let's make it clear. The loser isn't allowed to cry." Su Wan was speechless. "You make it sound like I'm going to lose for sure." Speaking of which, Su Wan had been through so many worlds but she had never gotten a pair of male and female leads together. But in this world, why was she suddenly interested? Su Wan expressed that this was a secret. General Su was speechless. "Wife, you're revealing your fox's tail. Don't think that I don't know what you're planning." After sleeping in Su Wan's room for a night, Su Wan had already prepared breakfast when Su Rui woke up the next day. She was standing in front of the mirror and tidying up her work attire. "You're going to work?" Su Rui saw the black uniform Su Wan was wearing and couldn't help but furrow his brows. "Wife, if you go to work, what about my shop? Isn't that easy? Tidy yourself up and then stand in front of the shop. You're a living signboard. As long as you put on a pose and smile elegantly, you'll definitely charm all the young ladies and wives passing by. Then wouldn't they flock to your shop to buy things?" Su Wan tidied up her suit and smiled softly. Hearing her words, Su Rui's face darkened. How could the dignified General Su sell his smile on the streets? "How about I close my shop today?" Su Rui muttered gloomily while eating breakfast. It wasn't that General Su looked down on small merchants and peddlers. It was just that the service industry wasn't General Su's cup of tea. He couldn't do such a worrisome thing. That's fine too." Hearing Su Rui's words, Su Wan nodded at him. "I'll be resigning at the end of the month. Let's start our own business then." The two of them found a small business and ran it warmly and busily. This was also a kind of life. Who said that he wasn't happy with this kind of life? Soo-won left the house early according to the original body's working time. After Soo-won left, Soo-rui helped her tidy up the room inside and out. After tidying up the room, Soo-rui wanted to go downstairs and buy a financial newspaper to see the world's economic trend. At this time, the counterfeit phone in his pocket suddenly rang. Seeing the huge Dongzi on the screen, Soo-rui hesitated for a bit before remembering that Dongzi's name was Soo-dong. He was Yen Mubai's good brother from Julin Street. Hello. Dongzi. Chapter 315. When Soo-rui rushed to Julin Street, he saw a lot of people surrounding Auntie Wang's stall. Those people were still arguing noisily. Excuse me. Soo-rui quickly entered the crowd. Soo-dong and Lu Ying's eyes brightened seeing Soo-rui. Brother Bai, you're here. Hurry. Hurry up and talk to them. They're too unreasonable. Lu Ying's loud voice immediately started shouting after seeing Soo-rui. Soo-rui nodded at her and Soo-dong. Then he glanced at the scene. Auntie Wang was a lonely old lady who sold fruits. She didn't have money to rent a house, so she usually set up a stall on Julin Street. Everyone knew that her life wasn't easy, so they often went to buy fruits from her. The old lady was very sincere and kind. Not only were the fruits on her stall good and cheap, they were never short on weight. Right now, Auntie Wang's fruit stall had been taken away. Apples and oranges were scattered on the ground. The old lady was on the ground, groaning. There were a few enforcement officers in uniform standing on the side. One of them was holding a smartphone and recording the scene. Auntie Wang, are you okay? Soo-rui walked up and bent down, wanting to help Auntie Wang up. At this time, the young enforcement officer holding the phone couldn't help but sneer at Soo-rui. You're a merchant here too. This old lady doesn't want anyone to help her up and insists that we tripped her. We're in a lawful society right now. We're enforcing the law in a civilized manner too. I've recorded the entire process. You look like you're cultured. There's no way you don't know the law like these uncouth men, right? Ha, the law. This was Soo-rui's first time hearing someone talk about the law. He couldn't help but laugh and help Auntie Wang up. Auntie Wang, are you okay? Little Bai, are you Little Bai? Hearing Soo-rui's voice, Auntie Wang focused and stared at Soo-rui's face with her turbid eyes. Soo-rui was speechless. What's Xiao Bai? Why does it sound so awkward? A certain silver moon white tiger sends a congratulatory message from across time and space. And Wang, cough. It's me. I'm Mubai. Soo-rui refused to admit that he was Little Bai. Mubai. Hearing Soo-rui's words, Auntie Wang immediately grasped his hands, her face showing an aggrieved and anxious expression. Auntie is so old and I've never done anything evil in my life. Today, they said that they wanted to clean up the city and wanted to take away my stall. It's not that I don't want to cooperate with the leaders, but I have hyperosteogenesis in my legs, so it's not convenient for me to move around. So, when I was closing up the stall, they took action without saying anything. This doesn't make any sense. Auntie, you need to have evidence to back up your words. Don't simply slander us. At this time, hearing Auntie Wang's words, the young urban management officer on the side immediately became serious and shook the mobile phone in his hand. We have video records of our law enforcement process. We are guarding against unreasonable old men and women like you who like to fall on the ground. Video. Can I have a look? Soo-rui suddenly looked up and said coldly. The officer was shocked by Soo-rui's cold aura. When he came back to his senses, he realized that his phone was in Su Rui's hands. Don't be nervous. I won't delete your things. Su Rui smiled and played the video from the beginning. When it reached 3 minutes and 11 seconds, his gaze flickered and he pressed the pause button. Can you tell me what's going on with this scene? The video stopped at the moment before Auntie Wong was pushed down. At that moment, the video was very chaotic because her fruit cart overturned. At that time, Auntie Wong seemed to have bent down to support the cart. But at this time, a foot suddenly appeared behind her and tripped her. She lost her balance and immediately fell to the ground. Carefully identifying the scene in the video, the young urban management officer was also stunned when he saw the foot that tripped Auntie Wong. How did this happen? That's right. Look. Who's the one lying? You guys even dare to hit an elderly person. This is too much. The surrounding people also saw the evil foot that was ignored in the chaos after Su Rui's reminder. At this time, Su Rui's gaze swept through the crowd again and immediately found the owner of the foot. It was a man in his 30s. He was fat and had a pale face. One look and you could tell that he wasn't a righteous person. Noticing Su Rui's gaze, the man's expression changed slightly. But then, he straightened his body. What are you guys arguing about? What are you arguing about? Captain. The young urban management officer heard the middle-aged man's words and looked at him awkwardly. Captain, this matter, so what? What can the video prove? The scene was so chaotic just now. Even if someone tripped her, it might not have been intentional. Also, it might have been done by a passerby. They only saw a blurry foot. Who can say for sure? Forget it. Disperse. We won't make things difficult for you today. Hurry up and pack up and go home. Otherwise, people will say that we urban management officers are heartless. Saying this, the middle-aged captain waved his hand and the people beside him immediately moved and threw Aunt Wong's car and fruits to the side. Seeing the smashed fruits on the ground, Aunt Wong's slightly turbid eyes reddened. Seeing the group of people gradually walking away, Su Rui's gaze turned cold. He was about to walk when Su Dong pulled him back. Brother Xiaobai, don't fight them head-on. It's not worth it. Let's help Aunt Wong clean up the fruits. Su Rui's movement slowed down. At this time, the young urban management officer who was recording suddenly turned around and ran back. He quickly took out 200 yuan from his pocket and stuffed it into Aunt Wong's palm. Auntie, sorry for misunderstanding you. This money, I'll treat it as me buying fruits from you. There's really a big inspection today. Hurry up and pack up and go home. Without waiting for Auntie Wong's response, the young man immediately turned around and quickly followed his teammates. This child. Aunt Wong clutched the money in her hand and sighed hesitantly. Right now, more than half of the onlookers had left. The neighbors, including Su Dong and Lu Ying, had already started to help pick up the fruits. It's not easy for anyone these days. Su Dong sighed. Beside him, Lu Ying couldn't help but chime in, that's right. We're ordinary people. We're busy every day, and the money we earn all year round isn't even enough for a rich man's meal. Reincarnation is a skill. If my dad was a CEO, I'd buy the entire Jolene Street. Everyone can do whatever they want, and I won't charge you any rent. Su Dong was speechless. Did you read too many CEO novels? You can just buy a street. Do you think it's cabbages? Even if you had 10 billion yuan, the government wouldn't sell it to you. You could only stare at it. Hearing everyone's discussion and seeing the urban management officers leaving, Su Rui stood in the same spot and didn't say anything. Ever since he became a mission enforcer, he had to learn how to do missions from TV shows and novels. Now, he could easily roleplay any role. General Sue had always thought that he had changed from an NPC to a real person with flesh and blood. But now that he came to this world and was together with the most ordinary people at the bottom of society, he suddenly felt like he was living in an illusion and wasn't real. "Brother Bai, why are you in a daze?" Su Dong patted Su Rui's shoulder hard, seeing him in a daze. Su Rui snapped out of his trance and smiled at Su Dong. "Dong, let's send Aunt Wang back." In the morning, General Su had decided to close Yen Mubai's shop and then pour the money out to start his own business. But now, Su Rui changed his mind. He wanted to be a peddler. He could be a peddler and go to the battlefield. This was a true mission enforcer. He wanted to experience the world and experience the coldness of human nature. Chapter 316. Hengyun Investment Company. During the lunch break, a large group of employees gathered together. If they weren't gossiping, they were scrolling through their WeChat moments. Su Wan ordered a meal from the company's cafeteria and then sat quietly in a corner. She was currently thinking about resigning. There were still a few days until the end of the month. She had already typed her resignation letter in the morning, but she hadn't submitted it yet. Xiao Wan. At this time, her colleague, Luo Yen, walked over to Su Wan with a tray. "Xiao Wan, why are you alone?" I'm feeling a bit uncomfortable. I want to be quiet." Su Wan smiled faintly at Luo Yen. Luo Yan's gaze flickered. "You're still thinking about your ex-boyfriend." Luo Yen got along well with the original body in the company. She knew about Xiao Qing's accident. No. It's all in the past. Why are you still thinking about it?" Su Wan shook her head. Luo Yen couldn't help but move closer to Su Wan. "Xiao Wan, do you still remember my cousin? Chiu Feng, the one who runs his own business. His company's business is pretty good right now. Didn't we bump into him at the gathering last time? He's interested in you. Can you consider him? Sister Yen can guarantee that our cousin has a good character. He doesn't flirt with women, doesn't go whoring, and doesn't gamble. Of course, smoking and drinking aren't problems. He also wouldn't hit his wife when he's drunk." Su Wan was speechless. "Sister Yen, I actually have a boyfriend already." Seeing that Luo Yen was trying her best to recommend her cousin, Su Wan couldn't help but interrupt her. She muttered solemnly. You have a new boyfriend already." Luo Yen froze hearing Su Wan's words. Then she couldn't help but exclaim, "I knew it. How could there be no one chasing after the flower in our office? Xiao Wan, you're too mean. You didn't even tell us that you have a boyfriend." Hearing Luo Yan's words, before Su Wan could reply, her colleagues who had just finished eating immediately surrounded her. "Colleague A, Su Wan, you have a new boyfriend. When are you going to bring him over?" Colleague B, "Yeah. You're still trying to hide him. We're not going to steal him from you." Colleague C, "What does your boyfriend do? Do you have a photo for us?" Su Wan's face darkened under the burning gazes of the women. These are the women in the office. Those who were older would always want to introduce a boyfriend to you, and those who were the same age as you would always want to compete with you in terms of boyfriends. As for those who were younger, they would either laugh at you for not having a boyfriend and call you a leftover woman, or ridicule you for finding anyone and being a marriage maniac. In short, why make things difficult for women? Surrounded by a large group of women, Su Wan calmly finished the last few mouthfuls of food in her lunchbox and then unhurriedly said, "It's not that I don't want to tell everyone, the main thing is that we just confirmed our relationship. Isn't it not stable yet?" it just so happens that there's a party at the company tomorrow night where you can bring family members. Soo-won, you must bring your husband over for everyone to see. Ah. Exactly, exactly. Seeing everyone start to discuss again, Soo-won could only awkwardly smile and nod her head. Finally, it was time to get off work. Soo-won took the bus home, and when she passed by the street food market, she bought some of Soo-rue's favorite dishes. In the end, when she got home, there was actually no one at home. Soo-won was just stunned for a moment, then she changed her shoes and entered the house. Seeing that her small house was cleaned up by Soo-rue, Soo-won smiled and brought all those dishes to the kitchen, preparing to prepare the ingredients for dinner first. When Soo-rue came back, the sky was already dark. Seeing that General Soo, who always tidied himself up, came back sloppily, Soo-won stood at the door and couldn't help but widen her eyes. What did you do? It can't be that he went to drive an excavator, right? I helped Dongzi tidy up his warehouse today. And I also asked them to help me sort out the goods while I was at it. As he spoke, Soo-rue took out some bits and pieces of money from his pocket. There were 100 yuan, 10 yuan, 20 yuan, and even a large pile of a few yuan. Here, wife. This is my income today. Are you happy? Soo-rue stuffed all the money into Soo-won's palm. To be honest, if this money was in another world, it wouldn't be as much as what General Soo earned in a minute. But in this world, Soo-rue had to work hard for a day to earn this, and there was still a third of the capital in this money. Of course, this money was different from the millions and millions of money they earned in the past. This was earned bit by bit, using their own hard work, the so-called hard-earned money of working people. Seeing the smile on Soo-rue's face, Soo-won also couldn't help but smile. Of course, I'm happy to have a husband who can earn money like this. I'll add more dishes for you tonight. What do you want to eat? I'll go make it. I want to eat you. Soo-rue said, leaning his upper body and lightly touched Soo-won's lips. Then he rubbed and deepened the kiss, his hands also tightly wrapped around Soo-won's waist. The two unknowingly leaned against the dining table. Soo-won's entire body was pressed under Soo-rue's body. Feeling that Soo-rue's emotions were somewhat fluctuating, Soo-won couldn't help but stagger her lips and looked at him suspiciously. Soo-rue, what's wrong? Weren't you very happy just now? Wife. Hearing Soo-won's words, Soo-rue's arms involuntarily tightened. Today, I suddenly realized that being an ordinary person and tasting the joys and sorrows of life is also a type of enjoyment. Because no matter how hard I work and how hesitant I am outside, I will see such a gentle and cute wife when I return home. Saying this, Soo-rue couldn't help but kiss Soo-won again. The feeling of having a family and a lover was more satisfying and blissful than having millions of wealth. Hearing his words, Soo-won heaved a sigh of relief. She couldn't help but squint her eyes at Soo-rue and smile. So, you're planning on continuing to be a peddler? You won't regret it. What's there to regret? A peddler doesn't steal or rob. What they earn is hard-earned money. Saying this, General Soo proudly announced, even if I only sell A-grade goods, I can still sell you a better tomorrow. Soo-won was speechless. He must have learned this from other people in the wholesale market, right? It seems like General Soo, you've gained quite a bit today after being lovey-dovey for a while. Soo-won started to prepare dinner while Soo-rue took a piece of paper and calculated. He was going to properly manage Yenmubai's little shop, so he naturally needed a detailed business plan. After Soo-won finished cooking, the two were about to eat when the doorbell rang. There weren't many people who knew where Soo-won lived, and even fewer people would come to eat at this time. Soo-rue stood up first to open the door. Xiao Qing stood at the door wearing light-colored sportswear. Miss Xiao. Soo-rue's gaze flickered seeing Xiao Qing. Hi. I didn't disturb your meal, right? Su Rui was speechless. Su Wan was speechless. Chapter 3:17. Xiao Qing stood in front of Su Wan's house, looking at everything in the house. It was still the same as before. He had come here many times in the past, but to be honest, he had never spent the night here. Yet, Su Wan wanted Yan Mubai to stay here. In short, Xiao Qing felt uncomfortable inside. Wanting to matchmake them and seeing them act ambiguously in front of him were two completely different feelings. Therefore, he hurriedly went through the discharge procedures and then took some money from Xiao Qing's bank card. Knowing that Su Wan had gotten off work, he came over. "Miss Xiao, why are you here?" Su Wan also stood up from the dining table and walked to the door. "Come in and sit since you're here. Have you eaten?" "Oh, I have." "You guys are eating. You guys can continue. I'll just sit here for a bit." Xiao Qing sat on the sofa as soon as he entered. "Nanny. I spent half of the money on this sofa back then." Thinking of the past, Xiao Qing felt incomparably melancholic. The furthest distance in the world wasn't between life and death. It was when you thought I was dead, but I'm standing in front of you as another person. Nanny. Plus, with his current identity, he could only develop a relationship with Su Wan. He felt stifled. Su Wan couldn't help but clear her throat seeing Xiao Qing sitting on the sofa at a 45-degree angle. She said to Su Rui, "Mubai, our company has a gathering tomorrow. They're asking everyone to bring their family members. Do you have time tomorrow? Why don't you pretend to be my boyfriend? You can also get some food to eat." Miss Su, that's not a good idea." Before Su Rui could reply, Xiao Qing quickly stood up and looked at Su Wan with a burning gaze. "Cough. What I mean is, if you find someone to pretend to be your boyfriend and your colleagues and leaders find out, that's not good, not good. What's wrong with that?" Su Rui put down his chopsticks. "Does Miss Xiao think that I, Yan Mubai, am not presentable?" Xiao Qing was speechless. "You do have a handsome face, but unfortunately, you don't need a sugar daddy." "What do you need a handsome face for?" "It's not like you can eat it." Although he was complaining inside, Xiao Qing still smiled at Su Rui. "Mubai, you're so handsome. Of course you're presentable. You're presentable. Isn't that enough?" Su Rui leaned against the chair and sighed. "Life isn't easy right now. If I can get a good meal, I'll get one. Plus, I heard Qing say that Xiao Wan's colleagues in the company are all snobbish. In the past, they've always bullied Qing. This time, I have to get revenge for him no matter what." Xiao Qing's eyes brightened. Right. How could he have forgotten about this? Yan Mubai was still the one who understood him the most. He was his best friend, yet he still doubted him. "I'm guilty, I repent." "Mubai, I'm sorry." Thinking of this, Xiao Qing immediately took out a stack of money from his bag. "Here, Mubai, I'm sponsoring you. Let's go to the mall tomorrow and buy a set of decent clothes and a good watch. Men need to be packaged too. With your foundation, as long as you package it up a little, you won't be any worse than the popular Heavenly King." Su Rui froze hearing Xiao Qing's words. Then he scratched his head awkwardly. "Miss Xiao, how can I use your money?" No, absolutely not." "Why not?" Xiao Qing was unhappy seeing Su Rui's refusal. "Isn't my money your money? Why are you being so polite with me?" Even Xiao Qing felt like something wasn't right. Su Wan blinked and smiled faintly. "Ha! You two can chat however you want. I'm going to the kitchen to wash the dishes. Just pretend that I'm not here." Xiao Qing was speechless. Su Rui was speechless. After Su Wan went to the kitchen, Xiaoqing looked awkwardly at Su Rui. Mubai, I didn't mean that. Nanny. I'm just treating him as my bro, okay? Miss Xiao. Su Rui suddenly stood up and walked over to Xiaoqing. Su Rui was tall to begin with. Now that Xiaoqing had become a woman, he was even shorter than Su Rui. Xiaoqing subconsciously took a step back, seeing that Su Rui was walking over to him. What are you doing? Miss Xiao, you can't be. Su Rui narrowed his eyes and purposely dragged out his voice. You don't like me, right? Damn. Xiaoqing couldn't help but curse. Why would I like men? He seemed to have said something wrong again. Cough. What I mean is, I don't like you. Don't misunderstand. Xiaoqing explained awkwardly. Su Rui's gaze flickered. Miss Xiao, you like women. This wasn't a big deal. Lesbians were married overseas. What was this about? Don't worry, I won't discriminate against you. But, you keep coming here. Do you like Su Wan? I'm telling you, Su Wan likes men. She doesn't like women. You should just give up. Xiaoqing, sniffle. Of course I know she likes men, but lesbians and whatnot. Xiaoqing's gaze suddenly brightened. Why didn't he think of this? He couldn't turn back into a man, but he could still get a girlfriend. With his current appearance and condition, as well as the Xiao family's financial resources, not to mention a random girlfriend, even a young model or a small celebrity would not be a problem. Mubai. You're really my good bro. Xiaoqing couldn't help but pat Su Rui's shoulder. You found out even though I hid it so well. That's right. I'm actually a lesbian. Su Rui was speechless. You're really good at taking advantage of the situation, heh? Su Rui smiled at Xiaoqing. I knew it. The first time I saw Miss Xiao, I felt that you were full of heroic spirit. You're not inferior to men. Oh right, do you have a girlfriend now? Not yet. It's mainly because I have high standards. Xiaoqing flipped his hair and pretended to be aloof. In reality, his heart was racing. He forgot to ask about Yan Mubai and Su Wan's relationship. He chatted with Su Rui for a bit and then turned to leave. By the time Su Wan came out of the kitchen, Xiaoqing was long gone. Where's Xiaoqing? Su Wan glanced at the stack of money on the table and then at Su Rui. She couldn't help but ask. He left. He probably went to a nightclub to look for a romantic encounter. Him. Looking for a romantic encounter. Su Wan couldn't help but roll her eyes. Him looking for a romantic encounter. He'd be thanking the gods if he didn't get a romantic encounter. Su Rui naturally knew what Su Wan was thinking. He couldn't help but give Su Wan a mysterious wink. Don't worry, he definitely won't suffer a loss. Right, if you don't take the money, why don't I take you shopping tomorrow? Keep it. Su Wan walked to the coffee table and put the money away. We're the poor people who pull down the GDP and drag our country down. Don't waste money anymore. Waste is shameful, okay? Oh. General Su couldn't help but nod hearing his wife's words. Right. Ordinary person. He wanted to be an ordinary person. Then what should I wear to your company's gathering tomorrow? Wear what? Su Wan glanced at Su Rui. Hubby, you look good in anything. Of course, you're the sexiest when you don't wear anything. Su Rui was speechless. Chapter 318. The two hugged each other to sleep in the small bedroom. This should be a warm and comfortable night, but Su Wan and Su Rui were woken up by the urgent ringing of the phone. Su Wan groggily picked up the phone on the bedside table. Looking at the constantly flashing unfamiliar number, she hesitated for a moment before pressing the answer button. Su Wan. A panicked female voice rang from the phone. Though it sounded a bit out of tune, Su Wan could still tell that it was Xiao Qing's voice. Miss Xiao, what's wrong? Su Wan, save me. Help me. Xiao Qing sounded anxious over the phone. The place he was at was really noisy too. For a moment, Su Wan couldn't hear him clearly. Miss Xiao, where are you? What's wrong? Blood, so much blood. Su Wan was speechless. Nanny. Did this guy kill someone in the nightclub? Reality proved that Xiao Qing wasn't as violent as Su Wan imagined. He just had his period after working for half the night. The last bag of Hushu Bao was taken care of. Su Wan suddenly felt stifled. Brother, no, sister. You're my sister. Xiao Qing was speechless. Nanny. Did I really turn into a woman? Pure girl. A pure girl that bled every month. Sniffle. I suddenly don't want to live anymore. Being a woman was so scary. Before the sun rose, Xiao Qing carefully tugged at Su Wan's pajamas with a pale face. Xiao Wan, I'm a bit scared. Can I stay here? Sleep with me? No. Before Su Wan could say anything, Su Rui coldly rejected him. Don't think that you're a woman just because you have breasts and a butt. I've seen through your perverted heart. Xiao Qing was speechless. Mubai, I'm asking Xiao Wan. It's not like I'm sleeping with you. Saying this, Xiao Qing couldn't help but roll his eyes at Su Rui. When he was a man, he hadn't even gotten on Su Wan's bed. Now that he was a woman, he didn't even get this benefit. No one wants to sleep with you. Hearing Xiao Qing's words, General Su's expression immediately turned cold. He grabbed Xiao Qing's collar and dragged him to the side bedroom. Sleep here. Hey, bang. Before Xiao Qing could ask anything, General Su closed the door without hesitation. Xiao Qing was speechless. Do you really think this is your home? Yen Mubai, you're really something. Your friend's wife is really impolite. Xiao Qing cursed inside. In the end, he sat on the bed with a dispirited expression. I've already become a woman. What else can I fight with you for? Thinking of this, Xiao Qing's heart broke. He was finally enlightened and prepared to go to a nightclub to pick up girls. Who knew that this would happen before he could even hook up with someone he liked? At that time, Xiao Qing was stunned when he saw his underwear and pants covered in blood. The first thing he thought of was that Xiao Qing's body was going to be ruined too. In his panic, he only remembered Su Wan's phone number and anxiously called her. Forgive Xiao Qing for being a girl for only a few days. He had no concept of menstruation at all. He subconsciously touched his lower abdomen. It was a little cold, and even a little sore and painful. As expected, being a woman was tough. Xiao Qing fell asleep unknowingly on the bed in Su Wan's bedroom. The next day, the sun was already high in the sky. Xiao Qing got up in a daze and immediately jumped out of bed. He checked the bed sheets and then his clothes. Thankfully, he wasn't covered in blood. Xiao Qing's face was pale and he had dark circles under his eyes. The moment he walked out of the room, he saw Su Rui sitting on the sofa doing accounts. Xiao Bai, what time is it now? Why aren't you selling at Julin Street? In a daze, Xiao Qing thought that he had returned to the past. Therefore, he asked in a familiar tone. Su Rui lifted his head and turned around, looking at Xiao Qing suspiciously. Miss Xiao, you seem to be familiar with Su Wan and my life. You investigated us. Xiao Qing was speechless. Cough. I'm just casually asking. Why would I investigate you guys? Xiaoqing smiled awkwardly at Su Rui. Then his face paled and he touched his lower abdomen. Damn. It's starting to hurt again. Seeing Xiaoqing's conflicted and pained expression, Su Rui furrowed his brows. What's wrong? Are you okay? I'm fine. I told you. You're a man. What do you know? Xiaoqing couldn't help but mutter. As soon as he said this, he wanted to slap himself. I'm not a woman. I'm a man, okay? Ding dong. The doorbell suddenly rang at this time. The two people in the room exchanged glances. Xiaoqing looked at Su Rui. Did Xiaowan forget to bring something back to get it? Su Rui was speechless. Do you think everyone's as forgetful as you? She had been gone for a few hours. Even if she really did forget something, she should have called him to bring it back. Therefore, Su Rui stood up and narrowed his eyes. He already guessed who it was outside the door. After hesitating, Su Rui still walked to the door and opened it. Wearing a thin beige sweater, Gu Shuxing stood at the door with a straight back and a cold expression. Mr. Yen, Xiaoqing is here, right? And Su Rui moved, revealing Xiaoqing's figure behind him. At this time, Xiaoqing froze seeing Gu Shuxing at the door. Why are you here? Did he come to ask for money? Damn. Do I look like someone who doesn't return money? Gu Shuxing, it's just money for a meal. You don't need to chase me all the way here. Do you think I'll disappear from the face of the earth? Xiaoqing stared at Gu Shuxing's cold expression and couldn't help but roll his eyes. I'll transfer the money to you in a bit with interest. Gu Shuxing, what meal? He forgot about it already. Miss Su called me. She said that you weren't feeling well, so she told me to pick you up. Gu Shuxing was still expressionless and his tone was neither fast nor slow. Xiaowan told you to come. Su Rui's gaze flickered hearing Gu Shuxing's words. Xiaoqing thought of his body condition and immediately felt bad. Don't come over. I'm fine. You don't need to care about me. You're a doctor, shouldn't you be busy? Why do you care about me? Gu Shuxing was speechless. Fine. He really was busy. Plus, he had an operation in the morning. Gu Shuxing didn't know what was wrong with him. He clearly disliked Xiaoqing, but thinking that if he didn't care about her, she might cause trouble again, Gu Shuxing hesitated. Ouch. While Gu Shuxing was silent, Xiaoqing suddenly felt a sharp pain in the living room. He bent over and subconsciously cried out in pain. Hearing his voice, Gu Shuxing immediately took a step forward. As if it was a doctor's instinct, he walked over to Xiaoqing's side and supported his slim waist. He lifted his hand and touched his stomach. Where does it hurt? Here. Xiaoqing was speechless. Xiaoqing's face immediately turned red when he felt the long, clean, and warm hand on his stomach. You, open your mouth. I'm normal. I'm definitely normal. Don't touch me, ahem. Su Rui couldn't help but chuckle. Dr. Gu, Miss Xiao seems to be here. It's normal for her to have a stomachache, right? Chapter 319. Xiaoqing's expression turned even uglier. Yen Mubai, you're the one who adds the last hit, right? No wonder Gu Shuxing was a doctor. He nodded in all seriousness. This is menstrual pain. Xiaoqing, does it hurt this much every month? How long does it last? Xiaoqing was speechless. Who the hell would I know? Gu Shuxing furrowed his brows seeing that Xiaoqing wasn't saying anything. Why don't you lie down on the bed and I'll take a look for you? What? Xiaoqing immediately jumped up. I don't need you to care about me. You pervert. Aren't you a surgeon? What do you know? Gu Shuxing was speechless. Surgery is my major after I graduated. I had to learn it when I was in medical school. Plus, I got full marks in every subject. Hearing Xiaoqing's doubt, Gu Shuxing actually explained to him seriously. It's scary to be uneducated. Xiaoqing was speechless. Anyways. I'm fine now. Saying this, Xiaoqing purposely straightened his back. His chest was bouncing up and down, blinding everyone's eyes. Ah. Gu Shuxing took a step back awkwardly. Then I'll send you back and have Aunt Jiang make you some brown sugar water. The Aunt Jiang he was talking about was Jiang Min. She was Xiaoqing's mother and also Gu Shuxing's mother's good friend. Xiaoqing hesitated hearing Gu Shuxing mention Jiang Min. Then he said awkwardly, wait for me. I'm going to the washroom. Speaking of which, how should he change the sanitary pad? He didn't remember it at all after Su Wan did it for him last night. Xiaoqing felt conflicted as he walked. Why don't I just wait until I get home and ask my mother for help? Would she think that he was stupid? Xiaoqing closed the washroom door tightly and then carefully took out his smartphone. Cough. If there's a problem, ask Baidu. After a while, he finally took care of the damn thing. Xiaoqing walked out awkwardly. Let's go. Xiaoqing really didn't like being with Gu Shuxing. Gu Shuxing was like a moving stone. He was expressionless and cold. He didn't have anything in common with Xiaoqing. However, Xiaoqing had been thinking about it for a while too. In Xiaoqing's social circle, he only knew Gu Shuxing. Well, it was better than not knowing anyone at all. After sending the two downstairs, Su Rui's gaze flickered as he watched Gu Shuxing drive away. Then he smiled to himself and took the change, preparing to take the bus to Jolene Street to sell his goods. A beautiful new day has begun in the evening. Su Wan got off work as usual. As soon as she entered the door, she saw that Su Rui had already changed his clothes and was tidying up the house. The 24 filial husbands definitely lived up to their reputation. Why are you here so early today? Su Wan couldn't help but squint her eyes at Su Rui. Su Rui raised his hand and snapped his fingers. Aren't I afraid of delaying your gathering tonight? What do you think of my outfit? New stock just arrived at Dongzi's store. He was wearing a burgundy crocheted sweater and a pair of skinny, low-waist casual jeans. Su Wan looked at Su Rui's attire. General Su, you're really good at acting. With this outfit, he should be no different from a university student, right? He was definitely a school hunk. Really handsome. Su Wan gave Su Rui a thumbs up. She was used to seeing Su Rui in suits and windbreakers. This was the first time she saw him in such a popular and youthful outfit. Su Wan's eyes brightened. You think I'm handsome? Hearing the praise for his wife, Su Rui immediately curved his lips. Dongzi helped me find these. Not to mention, the quality of the clothes he helped me find are very good. They're also quite soft and comfortable to wear. They don't seem to be much different from the ones I used to wear. Su Wan was speechless. Nanny, it's much different, okay? In the past, your custom-made clothes cost 7 figures, okay? You could buy a room full of popular clothes, however, being able to wear Armani and be able to afford popular clothes, this was a true Adonis. Wait for me. I'll come out after I change. In order to be worthy of her family's handsome Adonis, Su Wan had no choice but to rummage through the original body's wardrobe for a long time. Thankfully, the original body was petite and cute. After finding a nice dress, Su Wan put on some light makeup and styled her hair. Then, she held Su Rui's arm and walked out with a smile. Hingyun Investment wasn't a big company locally, but it was a big name among private investment companies. The company's gathering naturally wouldn't be at a small restaurant or roadside barbecue. Instead, it was set at a 4-star hotel in the city center. When Su Wan and Su Rui took a taxi and arrived, there were already many cars parked in front of the hotel. The two were basically immune to all kinds of famous cars. They didn't look much and just walked into the hotel. Who knew that at this time, a sweet voice suddenly rang from behind them. Xiao Wan. Su Wan, you're here. This voice was especially delicate and sweet. Okay, only the eldest miss in the office, Kongya, would have such a sweet voice. Kongya. Su Wan lifted the corner of her lips and smiled at Kongya. She was wearing a luxurious dress and there were expensive diamonds and jewelry around her neck. She didn't need to look closely to know that it was real. Xiao Wan, is this your boyfriend? Kongya smiled at Su Wan. When she saw Su Rui, her eyes flickered. Your boyfriend is so handsome. He looks so young. Is he still in university? What university? He didn't even graduate from primary school. Hearing Kongya's words, Su Rui giggled and shrugged. You must be Miss Kong, right? Don't forget to take care of my wife in the company. Kongya was speechless. She thought he was a good-looking guy. Damn, so he was just a trash on the inside. Ha! Kongya smiled at Su Rui and then turned to hold on to an elite man. This is my boyfriend, Lu Qing. Hello. Lu Qing wore a branded suit. He smiled and took out a business card from his pocket, handing it to Su Wan and Su Rui. First time meeting. Please take care of me. Oh, department manager. Does your company have an A-version bag? If you do, come and buy it from me. I'll give you a 30% discount. Su Rui took the business card from Lu Qing and then lifted his brows, asking with a smile. Lu Qing was speechless. A certain elite felt really awkward, heh. Su Wan, your husband is really humorous. Kongya smiled awkwardly and then held on to Lu Cheng's hand, walking forward. We're going in first. Seeing the two leave, General Su shook his head disinterestedly. The guy is okay but the girl isn't. Lights should be off. General Su, do you want to change your career and become a host for if you are the one? Okay. Su Wan snickered and pulled Su Rui's hand. Let's go in. It's about time. It won't be good if we're late. When they reached the floor of the hotel, there were already many people sitting in the lobby. Xiao Wan, over here. Luo Yen saw Su Wan's figure and immediately stood up and waved at her. When Su Wan and Su Rui walked closer, they saw a young man sitting next to Luo Yen. His gaze landed on Su Wan without blinking. Chapter 320. Chiu Feng was 28 years old this year, the golden age. Because his family was well off, Chiu Feng took some money from his parents to start his own business after graduating from university. He was the owner of a small company now. Compared to people of the same age, he was considered quite wealthy. Seeing Su Rui and Su Wan, Chiu Feng automatically ignored General Su. Instead, he smiled and stood up to give his seat to Su Wan. Su Wan, you're here. Sit here. There's an empty seat here. Su Wan was speechless. Who are you? Forgive the original body for not having any impression of the man in front of her. Although Chiu Feng wasn't handsome, his facial features were decent. It was just that his appearance didn't match the original body's aesthetics. Therefore, in the original body's impression, he was just a passerby. Hearing Chiu Feng's words, Su Wan smiled politely. General Su wouldn't be polite with him. Oh, you're so polite. You even reserved seats for us. Su Rui said while pulling Su Wan to his original seat under Qiu Feng's flabbergasted gaze. Qiu Feng froze and couldn't help but glare at Su Rui. General Su was speechless. Why are you staring at me? You've never seen a handsome man cough. Xiao Feng, come sit here. Luo Yan saw that the situation was a bit awkward. She immediately smiled and pulled her cousin over to her side. Then she smiled at Su Wan and Su Rui. Xiao Wan, this is your boyfriend. He's really handsome. What's your name? Yen Mubai. Su Rui nodded at Luo Yan. Mr. Yen, what a nice name. It sounds poetic and picturesque. You look like a gentleman too. I wonder what you do for a living. Luo Yan continued to smile, looking at Su Rui intimately. Su Rui lifted his brows and smiled at Luo Yan. I'm not as cultured as my Xiao Wan. She can sit in an office and be a white-collar worker. I just set up a stall on Jolene Street and sell fake goods. Saying this, Su Rui's long and narrow eyes swept over Luo Yan. Sister, I have sources of your watch too. It's definitely better than yours. I can see the logo clearly under an 8 times magnifying glass. Speaking of which, how much did you buy it for? The workmanship is average. You didn't get scammed, right? Luo Yan, everyone's gazes landed on Luo Yan's wrist. Everyone knew that Luo Yan's husband had bought that watch for her. Apparently, it was a famous Swiss watch and it was really expensive. When she first wore it, she often showed it off in front of everyone. Sensing everyone's suspicious and gloating gazes, Luo Yan immediately tugged at her sleeves awkwardly. Xiao Yan, you really know how to joke. This is a gift from someone. I bought it from overseas. Oh, hearing Luo Yan's words, Su Rui purposely dragged out his voice. Understood. Authentic products from overseas. Alright, it's time to eat. Stop talking nonsense. Seeing that it was about time, Su Wan pouted coquettishly and pulled on Su Rui's sleeves. Then she smiled at Luo Yan. Sister Yan, don't take offense. It's a problem of his profession. The moment he sees a luxury item, he thinks it's fake. Luo Yan, haha, the company's gathering was just that. Everyone gathered together to eat, drink, and gossip. After the meal, someone suggested going to karaoke. Su Wan and Su Rui weren't interested in karaoke, so they found an excuse to go home early. But the moment they walked out of the hotel, they saw a gray Mercedes-Benz parked there. The car window rolled down, revealing Qiu Feng's face. Are you guys going back? It's hard to get a taxi right now. I'll give you guys a ride. Sure. Hearing Qiu Feng's words, Su Rui happily pulled Su Wan onto the car. Once inside, he couldn't help but pat the leather seat in the back seat exaggeratedly. Your car isn't bad. It's pretty cool. It's okay, it's okay. Sensing the envy in Su Rui's voice, Qiu Feng immediately straightened his back, a pleased look on his face. Su Wan was speechless. General Su, you're getting more and more mischievous, right? Xiao Wan, where do you live? Qiu Feng wasn't polite at all. She even forgot who he was, but he called her Xiao Wan, as if they were close. He was trying to find out Su Wan's address through various methods. I live at. Su Wan was about to speak when Su Rui smiled and gave him an address. Please take us there. Ah. Qiu Feng froze hearing Su Rui's words. Because the address Su Rui gave was a high-class villa area. What? You can't find the way. Seeing Qiu Feng's dazed expression, General Su couldn't help but smile and ask, do you want me to show you the way? No need. I know. Chiu Feng snapped out of his trance and secretly looked at Su Rui and Su Wan. They didn't look like they could afford to live there. Plus, he asked his cousin about Su Wan's family background. Her relatives were all from other places. She rented a house here and didn't have much money. While Chiu Feng was confused, Su Rui had already taken out his counterfeit phone and sent a message to Xiao Qing. That's right. Su Rui gave him Xiao Qing's address. Xiao Qing had just been forced by his mother, Jiang Min, to drink a big bowl of black-bone chicken soup. Speaking of which, Xiao Qing had been an orphan since he was young. This was the first time he felt the feeling of having a family. He replaced Xiao Qing, so he naturally wanted to do his best to be filial to his parents. As for Jiang Min, she was the type of noble madam who doted on her children. She treated her only daughter like a precious treasure. Xiao Qing had just been cared for by Jiang Min and felt like he was about to die when he suddenly received his good brother's message. Seeing the content, Xiao Qing was furious. Motherfucker. There's actually a pretty boy who's thinking about Su Wan. Although Su Wan wasn't his wife anymore, she used to be his wife. Plus, maybe she'll become his brother's wife one day. In short, Xiao Qing immediately climbed out of bed after reading Su Rui's message. Then he hurriedly put on a jacket and ran downstairs. Jiang Min was drinking tea downstairs when she saw her daughter rushing downstairs. She immediately looked at Xiao Qing with concern. Xiao Qing, what's wrong? Are you feeling unwell again? How about I call Xuxing over to take a look? I'm fine. I'm going to pick up 2 friends. Xiao Qing said this as he ran out of the villa. Friends? Jiang Min's eyes flickered hearing Xiao Qing's words. She had spoiled her precious daughter. She liked to hang out with a bunch of scoundrels since she was young. After the car accident, she finally calmed down for a few days. Why did she return to her old ways right after being discharged from the hospital? Thinking of this, Jiang Min couldn't help but take out her phone and call Gu Xuxing. Xuxing, my Qingqing still feels unwell. If you don't have anything to do, why don't you come over and take a look at her? Gu family lived in this area too. They weren't far from Xiao family. Gu Xuxing had just come out of the bathroom. Hearing Jiang Min's words, he hesitated before nodding in the end. Aunt Jiang, I understand. I'll go over in a bit. Hanging up the phone, Gu Xuxing sighed and returned to the bedroom to find clothes. Chapter 321. The autumn wind was a bit cold. Xiao Qing couldn't help but shiver as he stood in front of the villa with his jacket draped over his shoulders. At this time, a car slowly drove over. Ah, it's a Benz. Xiao Qing pursed his lips. I'm someone who drives a Ferrari now. What's the big deal about $1,000,000 Benz? The car stopped right next to Xiao Qing. Chiu Feng also froze when he saw the beauty outside the villa. No matter if it was her figure or appearance, Xiao Qing was definitely the best. We're here. Seeing Chiu Feng staring unblinkingly at Xiao Qing outside the window, Su Rui smiled faintly and then jumped out of the car first. He waved at Xiao Qing and exclaimed, "You must be anxious from waiting, right? Are you cold? What do you think?" Xiao Qing rolled his eyes at Su Rui. From Chiu Feng's perspective, the beauty's action of rolling her eyes was mesmerizing. Chiu Feng couldn't help but get out of the car as well. He tidied up his expensive suit and stood by the side politely. His gaze swept over Xiao Qing's face from time to time. Xiao Wan, Mubai, is this your friend? Su Wan was speechless. As expected, you're a close friend. Yeah, I'm Xiao Qing. Xiao Qing glanced at Chiu Feng. Damn. He remembered now. Wasn't he Luo Yan's cousin? In the past, Xiao Qing had encountered Qiu Feng at Su Wan's company's gathering. At that time, he already felt that there was something wrong with this pervert's gaze. Damn. As expected, this was premeditated. Thinking of this, Xiao Qing smiled at Qiu Feng even more charmingly. What's your name, handsome? People say that men understand men the best. Seeing Qiu Feng staring at him, Xiao Qing couldn't help but brush his hair and his slender fingers carelessly brushed past his chest. Qiu Feng was speechless. A certain someone was about to have a nosebleed. Okay. What was a mature woman? What was a mature woman? What was an angel's face and a devil's body? Today, Qiu Feng saw it with his own eyes. In an instant, he completely forgot about the little angel in his heart. Seeing that Qiu Feng was head over heels for him, Xiao Qing secretly made a hand gesture to Su Rui. In the past, the two of them had come up with this hand gesture when they were doing bad things together. Right now, Xiao Qing's hand gesture was telling Su Rui to leave. Seeing Xiao Qing's actions, Su Rui immediately understood and quickly brought Su Wan into Xiao family's villa. Only Xiao Qing and Qiu Feng were left outside. My name is Qiu Feng. Miss Xiao can just call me Feng. Right now, Qiu Feng was looking at Xiao Qing in fascination. He didn't notice their departure at all. Qiu Feng. Fuck, I'll let you drink the southwest wind today. Xiao Qing narrowed his eyes and leaned against Qiu Feng's bends. Why is it so stuffy all of a sudden? He raised his hand and adjusted his collar. Qiu Feng, who was beside him, secretly swallowed a mouthful of saliva, so big, ahem. Xiao Qing couldn't help but cough again. After attracting Qiu Feng's attention, he got up from the car. He seemed to have twisted his ankle and Xiao Qing was about to fall onto Qiu Feng. Qiu Feng naturally wouldn't miss this heaven-sent opportunity. He immediately lifted his hands, wanting to hug Xiao Qing. From afar, it looked like he had Xiao Qing in his arms, but in reality, there was still some distance between them. Pervert. Suddenly, Xiao Qing slapped Qiu Feng. Humph. You want to take advantage of me? Pfft. I'm talking about me. You want to take advantage of me? Dream on. Damn pervert. Damn pervert. Xiao Qing raised his hands and started hitting Qiu Feng's face. Qiu Feng snapped out of his daze and pushed Xiao Qing away out of reflex. Qiu Feng came back to his senses and pushed Xiao Qing. It was a pity that Xiao Xiong was weak right now. Xiao Qing immediately fell backwards from Qiu Feng's forceful push. He originally thought that he was going to fail miserably, but he didn't expect someone to help him up. Are you okay? Gu Shuxing's voice was still cold and inflexible. Perhaps it was because he had just showered and changed his clothes, but there was still a faint pleasant smell on him. Xiao Qing's expression turned awkward when he felt Gu Shuxing's hand on his waist. He knew that every woman had a sensitive spot, but why was Xiao Qing's waist so sensitive? You, let go. Xiao Qing immediately struggled to stand up. Then he turned to glare at the battered and exhausted Qiu Feng. You damn pervert. You dare to push me. I'm going to sue you until you go bankrupt. That's right. He was rich so he could be willful. Qiu Feng was speechless. Forget it. Don't mess around. Gu Shuxing waved his hand when he heard Xiao Qing's words. Gu Shuxing. You. Xiao Qing was furious seeing that Gu Shuxing wasn't on his side. This is my business. Why are you butting in? Ha. Gu Shuxing rolled up his sleeves hearing Xiao Qing's words. Then he slowly took off his jacket and threw it at Xiao Qing's face. Xiao Qing, damn you! Xiao Qing was about to curse when he took off his jacket when he saw Gu Shuxing beating Qiu Feng with his bare hands. Qiu Feng's front teeth even fell out. Damn it, he's really going to be beaten up. Sometimes, using violence to control violence is useful. Gu Shuxing turned to look at Xiaoqing. The next second, he looked down and kicked Xiao Feng harshly. Scram! Xiaoqing was speechless. Damn. I actually feel that Gu Shuxing is handsome even though he has facial paralysis. Alright. Seeing that you're still a man, I've decided to be brothers with you. I'll never call you a pretty boy with facial paralysis again. Gu Shuxing tidied up his clothes. Seeing the dust on his sleeves, he furrowed his brows. Wow! Gu Shuxing, you're amazing. So you know how to fight in close combat. You're good. At this time, Xiaoqing suddenly ran to his side and elbowed Gu Shuxing's chest. You're really good at hiding your strength. I really didn't know that you had such explosive power with your small body. Do you go to the gym often? Do you have an 8-pack? Come, let me see. Let me see. Saying this, Xiaoqing reached out to grab Gu Shuxing's shirt. Gu Shuxing was speechless. Stop messing around. Gu Shuxing's expression darkened. He stared at Xiaoqing deeply. Weren't you feeling unwell? Why are you still standing outside? You're wearing so little. Oh, right. Xiaoqing finally remembered Su Wan and Su Rui after hearing Gu Shuxing's words. I'm here to pick up Xiao Bai and Xiao Wan. That pervert is actually thinking about our Xiao Wan. He's really out of his league. Saying this, Xiaoqing dragged Gu Shuxing into the courtyard. Since you're here, great. Let's go in and have a good meal together. Yan Mubai and Su Wan came too. Gu Shuxing was confused. Didn't he see the two figures as soon as he entered the courtyard? Xiaoqing, when did she become so familiar with them? Dr. Gu. Seeing Xiaoqing pulling Gu Shuxing into the courtyard with a smile, Su Wan's gaze brightened. Could this be the legendary protagonist's halo? Chapter 322. Although Gu Shuxing wasn't familiar with Su Rui and Su Wan, he wasn't unfamiliar with them either. The four of them entered the villa's living room. Jiang Min froze because she had never seen her daughter's two friends before. Did they just get to know each other? They looked pretty good. At least, they were much better than her friends. Qingqing, these two are. Jiang Min first looked at Su Wan and then at Su Rui. She couldn't help it. General Su was too eye-catching. Mainly based on his temperament. Though Su Rui was wearing a common style, Jiang Min could sense that this young man wasn't simple. Mom, these two are my best friends. This is Su Wan and this is Yan Mubai. Xiao Wan, Xiao Bai, this is my mom. You guys can call her Aunt Jiang like Gu Shuxing. Hello, Aunt Jiang. Su Wan and Su Rui smiled and greeted Jiang Min. Jiang Min also smiled and nodded at the two. Since you're Qingqing's friends, don't be so polite. Just treat this as your home. Jiang Min had always been open-minded. She planned on working in the study so she wouldn't disturb the young people's gathering. Before going upstairs, she didn't forget to order the housekeeper to bring them fruits and drinks. Xiaoqing had already sat on the sofa in the living room. Then he looked at Su Rui and Su Wan with a smug expression. Gu Shuxing and I took care of that damn brat. He probably won't harass Xiao Wan anymore. Su Wan smiled hearing Xiaoqing's words. Su Rui wore a complicated expression. Miss Xiao, can I talk to you alone? Xiaoqing was speechless. Xiaoqing froze. Seeing Su Rui's solemn expression, he hesitated before standing up. Come upstairs with me. Su Wan's gaze flickered as she watched the two go upstairs. Gu Shuxing continued to sit there with a dark expression. I didn't expect Dr. Gu to be so skilled. Su Wan took the lead to break the silence between the two people. Gu Shuxing faintly answered, "It's all right. I've learned a bit in the past." "I see." Hearing Gu Shuxing's words, Su Wan couldn't help but lift her eyes and look at him with a smile. "In the past, I always thought that Dr. Gu was very aloof. I didn't think that there would be a time when you would get angry for a beauty." "Heh heh, you must really care about Miss Xiao, right?" Xiao Qing, hearing Su Wan mention his fiancée, Gu Shuxing's expressionless face finally flashed with a conflicted expression. Did he care? He seemed to have never considered this problem. All along, Gu Shuxing felt that the reason why he helped Xiao Qing was because he didn't want him to cause trouble. Seeing that Gu Shuxing still didn't seem to understand, Su Wan couldn't help but lean on the sofa behind her and slowly sighed. Actually, Miss Xiao is really a good person. She's very enthusiastic and willing to help her friends. Dr. Gu, why do you think Mu Bai is looking for Miss Xiao? Don't tell me you want to confess to her. A confession. Hearing Su Wan's words, Gu Shuxing looked up and quietly looked at Su Wan's eyes. He opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but when the words reached his mouth, he suddenly didn't know what to say. Xiao Qing, could it be that she liked Yan Mubai? But they hadn't known each other for long. They hadn't even seen each other twice. For some reason, Gu Shuxing suddenly recalled the day when he sent Yan Mubai and Su Wan home. He stared at their backs. Xiao Qing seemed to be gritting his teeth. Thinking of this possibility, Gu Shuxing's calm heart wavered a bit. His fiancée fell in love with someone else. What should he do? This seemed to be a serious problem. Forgive the bookworm Dr. Gu for not being good at solving this type of problem since he was young. He was really stumped by this problem. Right now, in the bedroom upstairs. Come in. This is my room. Xiao Qing brought Su Rui to his bedroom. Xiao Qing's bedroom was originally filled with the aura of a young girl. Unfortunately, a man was living here now. Therefore, the room was naturally messy. Xiao Qing's speed of making trash wasn't fast enough for the nanny to clean it up. Xiao Bai, what do you, Xiao Qing turned around, planning on asking his buddy what he wanted. Who knew that Su Rui would force him into a corner the moment he turned around? Xiao Qing was speechless. What are you doing? Xiao Qing realized that he had become the weaker party. Seeing Su Rui's cold expression, he instinctively felt fearful. You, who are you? Su Rui narrowed his eyes, his aura a bit cold. Hearing his words, Xiao Qing widened his eyes and looked at Su Rui strangely. He subconsciously opened his mouth wide. For a moment, anxiety, surprise, and nervousness filled Xiao Qing's heart. Did Xiao Bai recognize him? While Xiao Qing was letting his imagination run wild, Su Rui spoke again. Xiao Qing, is that you? Xiao Bai, you? Xiao Qing's face was filled with surprise and joy. Xiao Bai, how did you? It really is you. Su Rui's expression changed seeing Xiao Qing's reaction. His eyes couldn't help but redden. His eyes were glistening with tears. You didn't even tell your buddy that you're alive. Do you know how many tears you tricked me into crying? Saying this, Su Rui patted Xiao Qing. Ouch! Xiao Qing couldn't help but jump around under Su Rui's hand. Xiao Bai, I was wrong. I was afraid of scaring you. It doesn't make sense for me to reincarnate into someone else's body. Besides, how did you see through it? I think I acted really well. Do you think I'm stupid? Xiao Qing is a young miss, but she knows Su Wan's address, phone number, and even knows where I set up my stall. The strangest thing is that you even know the secret code that Xiao Qing and I created. If I still can't guess who you are, then there's definitely something wrong with my brain. Xiaoqing was speechless. So I'm actually so full of loopholes. Hearing Su Rui's words, Xiaoqing felt worried for his intelligence. Sigh, intelligence really is a problem. Pfft. There's nothing wrong with my intelligence. I'm just too worried. Thinking of this, Xiaoqing jumped to the side and tidied his clothes. He looked at Su Rui solemnly. You're still talking about me. Let me ask you, Yan Mubai. Have you long harbored evil intentions towards our family Su Wan? Screw you. Su Rui cursed. Don't you know that you can't bully your friend's wife? I saw that she was so sad after your accident and wanted to comfort her. Xiao Wan is also a good girl. She knows that my family is in trouble and I don't have a place to live, so she took the initiative to lend me a room. The two of us are absolutely innocent. General Su, you're so good at lying. Your acting skills are amazing. Xiaoqing froze for a bit. Indeed, he didn't see the two being too intimate with each other. Plus. Su Rui lifted his brows and looked at Xiaoqing. What else can you do with Su Wan right now? I think that Dr. Gu downstairs is interested in you. He even wants to play the hero and save the damsel in distress. Just pretend that you've reincarnated. Be a woman and get married. Impossible. Xiaoqing's expression turned ugly hearing Su Rui's words. At most, I'll go overseas and find the best hospital for a sex change operation. I don't want to be a woman and be suppressed by other men for the rest of my life. Don't even think about it. Really? Su Rui narrowed his eyes and looked at Xiaoqing dangerously. That's what you said. Xiaoqing, you have to remember it. Xiaoqing was speechless. How could he forget? Chapter 323. Su Rui and Xiaoqing didn't stay upstairs for long. When they came downstairs, Gu Shuxing subconsciously glanced at Xiaoqing. Xiaoqing was clearly excited right now. Ever since he had reincarnated into Xiaoqing, Xiaoqing hadn't been depressed to death due to his thick nerves. However, he had always been terrified and apprehensive. He had suddenly changed from a man to a woman and he couldn't tell anyone. This was a type of inhumane torture. Thankfully, he wasn't alone now. It was common sense to reincarnate into someone else's body. If others didn't know about it, they'd definitely be in danger. But Yan Mubai was different. After all, he was his sworn brother. If Xiaoqing had to choose the person he trusted the most in this world, he would definitely choose Yan Mubai. The relationship between men was straightforward and reliable. I'm really happy today. Mother Zhang, go get some vegetables, seafood, and beef. I'm going to have hot pot with my brothers. Xiaoqing wanted to have hot pot in his excitement. Hearing her young Mrs. order, Nanny Zhang immediately ran to the kitchen to make it. Su Wan sat on the sofa and smiled at Xiaoqing. Miss Xiao, what made you so happy? I didn't see you in such a good mood before coming upstairs. Xiaoqing's gaze flickered and he smiled faintly at Su Wan. It's nothing. Just some small things. In short, I'm really happy. Getting to know you and Xiao Bai is the happiest thing in my life. Don't leave today. Let's drink until we're drunk. You better not drink or eat spicy food right now. Xiaoqing was in high spirits when Gu Shuxing expressionlessly poured a bucket of cold water on him. Xiaoqing was speechless. That's why it's so hard to be a woman. You don't know how expensive it is if you don't manage the household. You don't know how hard it is to be a woman. Hearing Gu Shuxing's words, Xiaoqing hesitated and lowered his voice. I can eat and drink less, right? Maybe it was because Xiao Qing didn't take care of his body in the past, so his menstrual cramps were quite serious. Thinking about how he rolled around on the bed with a pale face in pain in the afternoon, Xiao Qing was still a bit scared. We'll drink. You can drink something hot. It's the same. You can't eat spicy food anyway. Seeing Xiao Qing's conflicted expression, Su Rui couldn't help but pat his shoulder and suggest softly. That's right. Xiao Qing's expression brightened. Damn. My brain is useless. I don't like spicy food to begin with. I almost got tricked by Gu Shuxing. Hearing Su Rui's words, Gu Shuxing couldn't help but look at him again. He even knew Xiao Qing's eating habits? Isn't this a little strange? It just so happens that we didn't eat anything at the party just now. Now that you mention it, I'm a little hungry. Su Wan saw that the atmosphere in the hall was a bit strange. She couldn't help but touch her stomach and said softly. Xiao Qing couldn't help but smile at her. Then Xiao Wan, you should eat more later. Don't you love eating prawns? Let Little White help you. Xiao Qing also figured it out. Even if he found a girlfriend in the future, or if he had a sex change or something, he wouldn't be able to be with Su Wan. Therefore, he should matchmake her with Yen Mubai. There was nothing wrong with that. I'm the kindest ex-girlfriend in history. Come, give me a thumbs up. Hearing Xiao Qing's words, Su Wan's expression turned awkward. Damn. Can you be any dumber? You're full of flaws. How am I supposed to continue pretending? Do you think everyone is as stupid as you are? I really don't understand how Gu Shuxing got tricked by you in the original plot. Su Wan suddenly felt bitter. Damn it. She shouldn't have accepted this mission out of curiosity and playfulness in the first place. Su Wan was unhappy. Su Wan had emotions. Who asked you to be so stupid? Who asked you to be curious? Xiao Wan. Xiao Qing didn't know what was wrong with Su Wan, seeing her in a daze. Therefore, he couldn't help but call her softly. Xiao Wan, are you okay? I'm fine. Su Wan smiled bitterly at Xiao Qing, wanting to say something but stopping herself. I want to strangle you to death. Do you know that? Seeing that his wife was infuriated by Xiao Qing, Su Rui couldn't help but chuckle. Okay. I think Xiao Wan was angered by Qiu Feng. Don't be angry. Let's eat a big meal tonight and forget about all the unhappy things. That's right. Life is short. You can be poor for your entire life, but you can't be rich for your entire life. You can work hard for your entire life, but you can still live happily for your entire life. What's that saying again? Be a human. The most important thing is to be happy. Saying this, Xiao Qing couldn't help but bend down and pat Gu Shuxing's shoulder. Old Gu, don't you think so? Gu Shuxing was speechless. Who gave you the guts to call the handsome and invincible Dr. Gu Lao Gu? I don't eat at this time. Gu Shuxing looked at Xiao Qing. Xiao Qing, if you're fine, I'll be going back first. What? Xiao Qing was unhappy seeing that Gu Shuxing didn't give him face. I'm asking you to come with me because I think highly of you. You're acting cold in front of me. Sure. Go back to where you came from. My family doesn't have a place for you. Saying this, Xiao Qing quickly walked to the villa's door and opened it. Come. Hurry up and leave if you want to leave. Don't dilly-dally. Aren't you a man? Nanny. If you don't give me face, I don't want to be friends with you anymore, heh. Seeing that Xiao Qing was humiliated by Gu Shuxing, the loser's pride couldn't take it anymore. Su Wan couldn't help but laugh. Dr. Gu, seriously. Sister Xiaoqing asked you to stay for a meal because it's good for you. You're so unromantic. Xiaoqing was speechless. How am I romantic? I just want to be brothers with him. Hearing Su Wan's words, Gu Shuxing, who had already walked to the door, paused. He lowered his eyes and looked at the angry woman by the door. His heart was suddenly moved. I really can't eat. You guys eat. Saying this, Gu Shuxing walked out of the Xiao family's door. Bang. Xiaoqing slammed the door shut. Who was it? Rich people are particular about a lot of things. Come. Ignore him. The three of us can eat. Xiaoqing tossed Gu Shuxing's matter to the back of his mind. Su Wan was speechless, seeing his heartless look. Okay. You're the most carefree female lead I've ever seen. Su Wan secretly curled her lips. The moment she raised her eyes, she met Su Rui's smiling eyes. That gaze seemed to be saying, he's going to win. Su Wan was speechless. There was still someone who hadn't made her debut yet. Wasn't it too early to come to a conclusion? Thinking of the female lead who was about to return home, Su Wan couldn't help but raise her brows at Su Rui. Chapter 324. A City International Airport. Yao Shanshan took off her sunglasses and looked at her hometown. A smile of reminiscence flashed across her beautiful face. Gu Shuxing, I'm back. A city central hospital. Ever since leaving Xiaoqing's home that night, Gu Shuxing hadn't seen his unreliable fiancée for a while. A few days ago, Gu Shuxing met Jiang Min in the neighborhood and found out from her that Xiaoqing had been with Yan Mubai every day. He seemed to have invested in Yan Mubai's store and wanted to help him expand it. Didn't he know that a tall tree attracts the wind? Gu Shuxing was speechless at this. But when he thought of how close Xiaoqing and Yan Mubai were, he felt a bit uncomfortable. They were engaged before they were born. Although he and Xiaoqing didn't have deep feelings for each other these 2 years, the two didn't talk about the engagement. Of course, what made Gu Shuxing toss and turn these few days was something else. Xiaoqing, Yan Mubai, and Su Wan. Gu Shuxing felt that Xiaoqing's attitude towards those two people was strange. Moreover, she seemed to know them too well. Even if she hired a private investigator, it was impossible for her to know the details of their meals and lives. Xiaoqing, what are you hiding? It was already evening by the time he got off work at the hospital. Gu Shuxing changed his clothes as usual and went straight to the parking lot of the hospital to get his car. Who knew that as soon as he walked out of the inpatient building, he was stopped by a clear and melodious female voice. Gu Shuxing. Gu Shuxing froze hearing the voice. He quickly turned around and saw Yao Shanshan wearing a light blue coat smiling brightly at him under the setting sun. Gu Shuxing, I'm back. While speaking, she quickly ran in front of him, opened her arms and hugged him tightly. 7 years ago, the two met overseas. At that time, they were both international students. After learning that they came from the same city, their relationship instantly got closer. At that time, Yao Shanshan already knew that Gu Shuxing liked her, but it was very, very difficult to get this rigid man to take the initiative to confess. Yao Shanshan was also a beauty, and there were many people who chased after her overseas. At that time, Yao Shanshan hinted at Gu Shuxing to confess to her at her birthday party, but this guy didn't understand. In the end, in a fit of anger, Yao Shanshan found a foreigner to be her boyfriend. In fact, she just wanted to anger Gu Shuxing. She didn't really plan to do anything with that man. Who knew that Gu Shuxing would take the initiative to call her after finding out about it? After that, the two of them stopped contacting each other. Yao Shanshan was also a very proud woman. She felt that since Gu Shuxing was not willing to compromise for her, she might as well cut ties with him. Until 2 years ago, when Yao Shanshan met the overseas student she had hung out with back then at a company cocktail party. From him, Yao Shanshan found out that on the day she announced that she had a boyfriend, Gu Shuxing had been drinking alone in the dormitory until dawn. As a man who aspired to be the best surgeon in the world, he absolutely could not drink. And that day, Gu Shuxing got himself drunk. He was the only one who silently endured it. He silently turned around and left. Perhaps this was his way of dealing with people. Yao Shanshan didn't understand back then, but she did now. That was why she came back. Shanshan. Looking at Yao Shanshan, who didn't change much, Gu Shuxing's unchanging iceberg face revealed a rare smile. When did you come back? Today. I came to find you as soon as I got off the plane. Are you touched? Yao Shanshan let go of her hands and looked at Gu Shuxing with sparkling eyes. Before she came back this time, she had already arranged everything for herself. She also found someone to inquire about Gu Shuxing and knew that he was still single. This time, she had to take the initiative and not miss this man again. Hee hee. Hearing Yao Shanshan's words, Gu Shuxing smiled faintly. I just got off work. Let's go eat. I'll hold a welcome dinner for you. Okay. Yao Shanshan smiled and turned to Gu Shuxing's side. She raised her hand and naturally held his arm. Before I returned to the country, I heard from Mei and the others that a new restaurant, Yi Jiangnan, opened in a city. I heard that their private kitchen is very delicious. Let's go there. Memory Jiangnan, Gu Shuxing couldn't help but think of Shaoqing. He smiled and nodded. Okay, Memory Jiangnan it is. After work was the busiest time in the restaurant. Because they didn't make an appointment in advance, Gu Shuxing and Yao Shanshan waited for 10 minutes and finally found an empty private room. I don't know what you like to eat now. You can order. Gu Shuxing pushed the menu in front of Yao Shanshan like a gentleman. Yao Shanshan pursed her lips and smiled. Actually, I haven't changed all these years. It's still the same old taste. Even if a woman took the initiative, she couldn't be too direct. Moreover, it was the first time they met after reuniting. Yao Shanshan had already given Gu Shuxing enough hints. Unfortunately, Dr. Gu didn't seem to understand the deeper meaning in Yao Shanshan's words. After Yao Shanshan finished ordering, the two of them started chatting. With Gu Shuxing's cold personality, his circle of friends was very narrow, and there weren't many people who could talk to him. Yao Shanshan was the kind of person who was very much to Gu Shuxing's liking and could talk to him. This might be the reason why Gu Shuxing liked Yao Shanshan back then. It wasn't easy to find someone who understood you in a sea of people. However, a lover and a close friend were two completely different concepts. Gu Shuxing faced the current Yao Shanshan. He had already let go of his first love that ended without a cause. Perhaps it was really because a first love didn't understand love. Memory Jiangnan's dishes were served very quickly. However, before Gu Shuxing and Yao Shanshan could start eating, a commotion came from outside the private room. I booked a private room at noon. Now you're telling me that you don't have it. What do you mean? Can't I afford it? Gu Shuxing immediately knew that it was Shaoqing's voice when he heard the angry female voice calling out, "Lousy." He didn't know why, but he couldn't help but laugh. Shuxing. What's wrong? Nothing. A friend is downstairs. I'll go take a look. Saying this, Gu Shuxing immediately got up and walked outside. Yao Shanshan followed him out of the private room with a suspicious expression. Right now, Shaoqing, Su Rui, and Su Wan were all in the lobby. This was quite a coincidence. Su Wan had already resigned a few days ago. Now, the three of them were focused on managing the store on Jolene Street. The three of them planned to clear out the goods in the store and then find a reliable manufacturer to work with to create a popular brand. The three of them had been working on this for several days. Today, they finally found a factory and they were just short of signing a contract. Because he was happy, Xiaoqing couldn't help but book a table at Memory Jiangnan. He planned on having a good meal with the three of them tonight. Who knew that right before the three of them arrived, a group of district officials had also come here to entertain the leader. At that time, only the private room that Xiaoqing booked was empty. Therefore, the leader didn't put on airs and said, "This is it. Be small, be small. We can't increase the burden on the people." Xiaoqing was speechless. "Damn you, Miss Xiao, I'm really sorry. Why don't you wait a bit? There will be an empty room soon. Plus, we'll pay for your and your friend's bill today." The manager at the front desk kept apologizing to Xiaoqing, but Xiaoqing just felt bad. Damn. In the past, when I was poor, I was always bullied by tall, rich, and handsome men. Now that I'm a fair, rich, and beautiful woman, I'm still being bullied. Chapter 325. What are you arguing about? Just as Xiaoqing was arguing with the restaurant manager downstairs, a middle-aged man walked out of a private room with an unfriendly expression. Su Rui's gaze flickered seeing the fat figure. This was the captain of the urban management team that tripped Auntie Wang not long ago. It seemed like the private room he was in was the public servant's room. Since he could come out first, it meant that he was the smallest lackey here. Su Rui's lips curled. Enemies were bound to meet on a narrow road. He had been thinking about giving him a big present when he had time. Who knew that someone would give him a pillow when he was about to doze off? I was wondering who it was. The middle-aged man also saw Xiaoqing. He narrowed his eyes and smiled strangely. "Isn't this Miss Xiao?" "Miss Xiao, this is a public place, not your family's company. It's not good if you make a big fuss and affect other people's meals. The boss sitting inside is your Xiao family's bread and butter." Xiaoqing's gaze flickered hearing the middle-aged man's words. He wasn't an idiot anymore. Although he didn't receive Xiaoqing's memories, he could tell that the person sitting inside was someone with real power. Thinking of this, Xiaoqing could only shrug his shoulders and admit that he was unlucky. Fighting against those big shots for a meal. Fuck, if he was the male lead of an urban face-slapping novel, he would definitely screw them over and let them die in one go. Unfortunately, he wasn't. Forget it. Let's go eat somewhere else. Xiaoqing waved his hands. Right as he was about to leave with Su Rui and Su Wan, a familiar voice rang from another private room upstairs. "Xiaoqing, I have a place here. Why don't you guys come up and eat together?" Saying this, Gu Shuxing couldn't help but turn to look at Yao Shanshan. "Shanshan, you don't mind, right?" "Of course not." Yao Shanshan smiled sweetly, but her sharp gaze landed on Su Wan and Xiaoqing. Two young beauties. Yao Shanshan looked at where Su Wan and Su Rui were standing. A woman's intuition told her that these two should be a couple. Therefore, the girl who was arguing the most fiercely was her love rival. Disregarding the fact that Yao Shanshan had automatically listed Xiaoqing as her love rival, Xiaoqing was about to leave when he heard Gu Shuxing's invitation. "Damn it! Why are you everywhere?" Author, this is called the law of attraction between male and female protagonists. Ever since Gu Shuxing left that day, Xiaoqing felt that it was impossible for him to be friends with this rich, handsome man. Therefore, he hadn't contacted Gu Shuxing. Now that he was seen in such a sorry state by his former love rival, Xiaoqing naturally didn't want to show weakness. He lifted his head proudly and was about to reject Gu Shuxing in an arrogant manner when Xiaoqing noticed Yao Shanshan next to Gu Shuxing. Fuck, what a beauty. A stunning beauty. Feeling Xiao Qing's scrutinizing gaze on her, Ao Shanshan couldn't help but smile and display her best side as a woman to her love rival. Xiao Qing was speechless. I can't, I've fallen in love at first sight. Speaking of which, ever since he recognized the reality and decided to matchmake Su Wan and Yan Mubai, Xiao Qing had been with Su Wan and Su Rui these days. Then, he suddenly realized that Su Wan had been with him all these years purely because she was blind. Look at her and Yan Mubai. The two of them were really compatible and had a tacit understanding. Xiao Qing felt like he was crying inside. It wasn't because they were a couple. He just felt like he was a failure in his life, but after suddenly meeting the beautiful and elegant Yao Shanshan today, Xiao Qing suddenly felt like he could believe in love again. Since you have invited us so warmly, we can only reluctantly agree to your presumptuous request. Xiao Qing pouted at Gu Shuxing and then his gaze landed on Yao Shanshan again. How should I address you, beauty? Yao Shanshan, it's coming. Love rivals probing. Before Gu Shuxing could reply, Yao Shanshan had already climbed onto Gu Shuxing's arm. I'm Yao Shanshan. I'm a friend Shuxing got to know overseas. It's my first day back and he insisted on dragging me here to welcome me. Yao Shanshan's smile grew brighter as she said this. Damn it, another lost sheep that was fooled by Gu Shuxing's fake appearance. Don't be afraid. I'm specialized in saving lambs. Xiao Qing smiled faintly hearing Yao Shanshan's words. Then he lifted his brows at Gu Shuxing. Wow, old Gu. You actually got to know such a beautiful woman overseas. Why didn't you tell me about it? Saying this, Xiao Qing smiled at Yao Shanshan. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Xiao Qing, Gu Shuxing's fiancé. Yao Shanshan was speechless. So she was Gu Shuxing's fiancé. Miss Xiao, nice to meet you. When I was studying overseas, I heard Shuxing mention that he had an arranged fiancé. I didn't expect it to be Miss Xiao. Sister Xiao, you're really pretty. It's just that in the modern era, arranged fiancés don't seem to be common anymore. The two women started arguing as soon as they saw each other. This was just what outsiders saw. In reality, Xiao Qing was happy to talk to Yao Shanshan as the female lead of a world. You actually fell for your love rival. Aren't you embarrassed to say that you're the female lead? Why did you give up on treatment? Su Wan watched as Xiao Qing and Yao Shanshan chatted and laughed as they walked into the room. She really wanted to bang her head on the wall. She wasn't afraid of a godlike opponent, but she was afraid of a pig-like teammate. Wife, you're going to lose. Su Rui brushed his lips against Su Wan's ears while no one was paying attention. Su Wan was speechless. She knew that Su Rui had been with Xiao Qing these past few days. He didn't have any good intentions. Right now, Xiao Qing was slowly getting used to his new life as a woman. However, General Su kept reminding him that he was a man and that he should like women. The dishes were still warm by the time the five returned to the room. Yao Shanshan naturally sat on Gu Shuxing's right side. She originally thought that Xiao Qing would sit on Gu Shuxing's left side, but who knew that Xiao Qing would sit next to Yao Shanshan? Yao Shanshan, it seems like this love rival is pretty skilled. Xiao Qing, oh my goddess smells so good. I wonder if I can sleep over at her house after we get to know each other better. Just thinking about it makes me excited. Sister Xiao Qing, what do you do for a living? In order to better spy on the enemy, Yao Shanshan naturally thought of ways to test Xiao Qing. Hearing his goddess ask about his occupation, Xiao Qing immediately straightened his back and smiled modestly. I don't have a stable occupation. I'm just managing a brand with a friend. Yao Shanshan smiled modestly. Su Wan was speechless. You haven't even gotten a glimpse of him yet. You've really been bewitched by her, haven't you? Seeing that the two women were happily chatting, Gu Shuxing sat there and ate gloomily as usual, as if he didn't notice anything amiss. Fine. It's rare to see someone with a low EQ like you. Su Wan suddenly felt like Gu Shuxing and Xiao Qing were a perfect match. Although Xiao Qing used to be a man, he was a real woman now. Plus, he was a young woman. In the next few decades, he had to continue living as a woman. He might even get married and have children in the future. Chapter 326. Halfway through the meal, Yao Shanshan had become Xiao Qing's best friend. Seeing how happy Yao Shanshan was, Su Wan was speechless. Do you even know what your love rival is thinking? If you could read minds, you wouldn't be smiling this happily. I'm going to the bathroom. Suddenly, Su Rui, who was beside Su Wan, stood up and greeted everyone. Su Rui left his seat. When Su Wan saw him open the door, the middle-aged man from the private room next door just happened to pass by their door. Therefore, General Su, what are you planning on doing? After a few minutes, Su Rui returned with a satisfied expression. Seeing his calm appearance, Su Wan couldn't help but move closer to his ear and ask, "No one died, right?" "Ha!" Su Rui chuckled lowly. "Dear, this is a lawful society. I'm a law-abiding citizen." "Okay. So there were no criminals in the world." Yao Shanshan also stood up, seeing that Su Wan and Su Rui were whispering to each other. "I'm going to the bathroom too." "Wait, I'll go with you." Seeing that his goddess was going to the bathroom, Xiao Qing immediately stood up, planning on accompanying her. "Xiao Qing, don't smile so wretchedly." "I'm just going to the bathroom with my goddess." Su Wan was speechless. So going to the bathroom was contagious. Yao Shanshan immediately knew what was going on, seeing that Xiao Qing was going to go to the bathroom with her. "Yao Shanshan, is my love rival planning on fighting in the bathroom mode?" "Go ahead. I'll accompany you." Female bathroom. After Yao Shanshan came out of the cubicle, she washed her hands and then calmly touched up her makeup in front of the mirror. After a while, Xiao Qing slowly walked out of the cubicle. Nanny. Women's clothes were hard to wear. Going to the bathroom was too strenuous. Thinking back to the past, okay, I'm going to cry if I talk too much. Xiao Qing looked up to see his goddess touching up her makeup in front of the mirror. She was so beautiful. He couldn't help but walk over to Yao Shanshan. While washing her hands, she said, "You're so beautiful. You must have a lot of men chasing after you, right? Do you have a boyfriend?" "Xiao Qing, you have to say no." "Say no, no." Yao Shanshan put away her makeup box and smiled charmingly at Xiao Qing. "But I have a target. He used to like me a lot. I'm confident I can chase after him." Xiao Qing was speechless. Damn, is he talking about Gu Shuxing? Damn gigolo. No, I seem to have thought about not calling him that anymore, but, damn, he stole my sweetheart away again. A gentleman doesn't take someone else's love. Yao Shanshan sighed in relief, seeing Xiao Qing frozen in place with a pained expression. "Miss Xiao, you know about it, right? Although you and Shuxing are engaged, he doesn't have any feelings for you. You two aren't suitable." Through the investigation just now, Yao Shanshan had already discovered that this Miss Xiao was just a vase with no combat ability at all. Therefore, at this time, Yao Shanshan was not afraid to say it out loud. There was nothing wrong with men and women having sex. Moreover, it was a fair competition. Hearing Yao Shanshan's words, Xiao Qing's last bit of hope disappeared. Although he didn't like Gu Shuxing's coldness, he couldn't compare to him at all. All right. Actually, old Gu isn't bad either. I wish you both happiness." Saying this, Xiao Qing quickly walked out of the bathroom. "Don't call me. Let me have some peace." Nanny, I'm heartbroken again. Xiao Qing hurried out of the bathroom and then walked into a private room according to his memory. Xiao Qing was dumbfounded as soon as he opened the door. Nanny, I went to the wrong place. Miss Xiao. Can you be any more unreliable? When Yao Shanshan returned to the private room, Gu Shuxing was chatting with Su Rui. Yao Shanshan was surprised to see that Xiao Qing's seat was empty. Miss Xiao didn't come back. Isn't Sister Xiao Qing with you? Su Wan froze hearing Yao Shanshan's question. She came out first. Could it be, she went somewhere else to make a call? While Yao Shanshan was saying this, Gu Shuxing suddenly stood up and walked out without saying anything. This, Shuxing. Yao Shanshan froze and then subconsciously chased after him. Oh, is there going to be a good show to watch? Su Wan tilted her head and looked at Su Rui. Where did Xiao Qing go? With Su Rui's internal energy, it wasn't a problem for him to be able to hear everything. Su Wan believed that nothing in the restaurant could escape General Su's ears. He just went to the wrong private room. It's fine. Gu Shuxing can handle it. Oh. Su Wan's gaze flickered. Why didn't you stop him? Don't you know that in melodramatic dramas, this is the beginning of the male and female lead's relationship? Sometimes, it's better to let nature take its course, especially human relationships. Su Rui looked deeply at Su Wan. I know why you wanted to exchange missions with me. You want to help me increase my points. I have to accept my wife's kind intentions. Plus, Xiao Qing is quite interesting. Really. No matter if he's a man or a woman, he should be a pure person first. A pure person might not have high IQ or good luck. Maybe he would blame the heavens and others and feel sorry for himself. But people like that could survive no matter what environment they were in. Because they had the initial kindness and hope in their hearts. Needless to say, he had been running around for a living with Xiao Qing recently. General Su had experienced the hardships of ordinary people and also the joys of ordinary people. Life was supposed to be full of ups, downs, sorrows, and spices. Su Wan smiled craftily hearing Su Rui's words. That's right. She knew that she would win. It wasn't because she was confident in Xiao Qing and Gu Shuxing but because she knew that no matter what the process was, Su Rui would let her win at the end. No choice. Her man was just that good. Other people couldn't be envious. You've seen through all of this. Su Wan turned sideways and leaned on Su Rui's arm. Before entering the mission, Yi Axian asked about our relationship. I think that in order to prevent any accidents, she might seal all the memories about you in my mind during the trial. Su Rui, I'm actually a bit scared. Scared of what? Scared that you'll win. Or scared that you'll lose to me. Su Rui lowered his eyes and glanced at Su Wan. He really rarely saw Su Wan being so frightened and apprehensive. I don't know. I'm just a bit scared. Su Wan shook her head and subconsciously grabbed Su Rui's arm. You've already done too much for me. These points aren't much. I want to wait until you have enough points. After the trial ends, let's leave the mission. Leave this kind of life. Walk your own path and live your own life. Don't change others anymore and don't need others to change you either. Okay. Su Rui raised his hand and caressed Su Wan's long hair gently. Su Wan, you have to remember, if one day I don't remember you and you don't remember me, as long as we can still meet in the vast sea of people, we will still love each other. This is destined. You can't escape. Su Rui raised his hand and stroked Su Wan's long hair. Fated. I love you. Chapter 327. When Gu Shuxing came out of the private room, he subconsciously glanced at the surveillance cameras in the restaurant corridor. He planned to ask the manager to check the surveillance footage. At this moment, there was a sudden commotion coming from the private room not far away. Gu Shuxing's eyes darkened and he immediately ran over with Yao Shanshan following closely behind him. Damn! I'm going to kill you guys. Gu Shuxing heard Xiao Qing's voice before he even reached the private room. This guy made him worry. Bang! The door to the private room was kicked open. When Gu Shuxing saw the scene in the private room, his face immediately darkened. Xiao Qing. Ah! Xiao Qing was in the middle of fighting when he heard someone call him. He turned to see Gu Shuxing's scowling face at the door. Damn it! Why aren't you coming over to help? Are we brothers or not? Old Gu, hurry! Beat them to death. Gu Shuxing was speechless. Yao Shanshan was speechless. Damn! I must have opened the door the wrong way. Yao Shanshan looked at Xiao Qing, who was still baring his fangs and brandishing his claws while being pinned down by a man on the overturned table. Yao Shanshan felt that something was wrong. As it turned out, Xiao Qing walked into the wrong private room. A group of young men playing online games were having a party in this private room. Suddenly, a pretty girl came in. Some of the drunk people couldn't help but tease him. Xiao Qing had always thought that he was a man. How could a man be teased by others? Therefore, Master Xiao rolled up his sleeves without saying anything. He only had one word: beat them. Damn! He only remembered that he was a girl after they started fighting. He couldn't beat them without strength. Sniffle. He was a disadvantaged group. He was going to learn martial arts from China Bang. While Yao Shanshan was dumbstruck, Gu Shuxing lifted his leg and kicked the man on top of Xiao Qing off. Then Dr. Gu punched and kicked them, knocking them down in the blink of an eye. Every move hurt, but it wasn't fatal. Plus, no external injuries could be seen. That's right. This was a doctor who knew martial arts. Yao Shanshan was speechless. This was the first time she saw Gu Shuxing fight. Because Gu Shuxing was afraid of trouble and didn't like to meddle in other people's business. He wouldn't easily fight with others. Fuck, old Gu, you're awesome. Xiao Qing climbed up from the ground and winked at Gu Shuxing while limping over to the man who was pressing him down. He lifted his leg and started kicking. That's what you get for bullying me. That's what you get for pulling my hair. Enough. Gu Shuxing interrupted Xiao Qing's actions coldly. Then he took off his jacket and forcefully wrapped Xiao Qing up. What are you doing? Xiao Qing turned to look at Gu Shuxing, confused. Gu Shuxing didn't say anything. He just stared at Xiao Qing's face coldly. After a while, he slowly said, Qing, don't mess around like this in the future, okay? I'll worry about you. Xiao Qing was speechless. Wait. There's too much information in your words. It makes me nervous. Old Gu, you, don't tell me, you like me? Xiao Qing felt his voice trembling. Damn. I'm a man. It was a man. It was a man. Important things must be said 3 times like it. Gu Shuxing used to think that the feeling he had towards Yao Shanshan overseas was liking her. He liked Yao Shanshan. He liked the feeling of being in sync with her. He liked her elegance, wisdom, and beauty. Yeah, that was liking her. He was disappointed when he found out that Yao Shanshan had a boyfriend. That was the first time he drank alcohol. He drank 1 bottle and got drunk for the entire night. But the next day, Gu Shuxing could calmly call Yao Shanshan to wish her well. Because at that time, he realized that his liking towards Yao Shanshan was just liking her. That kind of liking wasn't love. People would like different types of people in different environments. But there might only be one person that you can't forget for 10,000 years. Gu Shuxing never knew what love was like. But when he saw Xiaoqing in such a sorry state, he felt his heart ache. The pain made it hard for him to breathe. Maybe this was love. Xiaoqing, I love you. Gu Shuxing suddenly understood his feelings. He broke his habits for her again and again because he loved her. Holy shit. Hearing Gu Shuxing's words, Xiaoqing immediately took a few steps back and looked at him vigilantly. You, don't come over. I don't like you. I like women. Gu Shuxing was speechless. Yao Shanshan was speechless. Right. Yan Mubai told him that it was normal for women to like women. This wasn't an illness. This was the freedom of love. Right. That's it. Xiaoqing couldn't help but straighten his back. Old Gu, you're a doctor. You should understand that love doesn't differentiate between countries, but sexual orientation can't be forced. Fine. You're actually really handsome, cool, and amazing, but the problem is that you're not a woman. If I ever stop liking women and start liking men, then I'll definitely consider you first. Do you understand after saying so much? Gu Shuxing answered, understood. Let's go back. Xiaoqing, that's it. I don't believe it, I don't believe it, I don't believe it, I don't believe it, where did it go? As expected, I don't understand the world of a scholar. Okay. Xiaoqing smiled awkwardly. He tugged at Gu Shuxing's jacket on his shoulders. Although it was a bit awkward, thinking that his clothes were affecting the city's appearance, Xiaoqing slowly walked out. When he passed by Yao Shanshan, he didn't forget to smile faintly at her. Yao Shanshan was speechless. Let me calm down. My mind is a bit messy. Everyone hurriedly finished eating. When they parted at the entrance of the restaurant, Xiaoqing had already tidied himself up. He handed Gu Shuxing's jacket to him. Thank you, old Gu. Gu Shuxing silently took the jacket and then put it back on without a care. Su Wan was speechless. Therefore, the male lead truly loved the female lead. What happened to the male lead's obsession with cleanliness? His clothes were so dirty. Are you blind? On the way back, Xiaoqing kept getting distracted as he drove. He almost ran a red light twice. Thankfully, Su Rui had been sitting in the front passenger seat the entire time, preventing the tragedy from happening. Do you want to get into a car accident again? Hearing Su Rui's voice, Xiaoqing stepped on the brakes. Xiao Bai, what do you think I've done? Wasn't it just a car accident? Why did my entire life change after I woke up? Little Bai, do you think that the heavens are playing with me? Screw you. It's good enough that you're still alive. What bike do you want? Su Rui couldn't help but pat Xiaoqing's head. Wake up. Living well is more important than anything else. The past is the past. It'll pass. Xiaoqing, you need to remember that you're Xiaoqing. Xiaoqing, right. He's Xiaoqing. No, he's Xiaoqing. Xiaoqing realized that he was a woman when he was teased by a group of strangers in the restaurant's private room. No matter how much he didn't want to admit it, he was a woman physically. Maybe Little Bai was right. Xiaoqing was dead. He died in the car accident. The person who survived was called Xiaoqing.